Hey everyone, I'm the person who made the page. Okay, so we have a Michael Jordan fan who wants to go on. He goes by the YouTube username of KP. He has three players who he basically considers a top tier: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James. And he explained that if he has to pick, he would pick Michael Jordan. So he's on the program. Let me put him on. Hey, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you. You're very welcome. You have three guys in your top tier, and if you had to decide, it's Michael Jordan?
Yes, if I had to choose, I would choose Michael Jordan.
Okay, so a couple questions. Why are those a top tier? And if you had to decide, why Michael Jordan?
Well, as I'm sure you and others listening will agree, we should judge players based on their performance as it relates to their individual impact or value, how they lift or elevate a team, or more simply, their individual contribution towards winning games. And if we were to judge Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar based on their career impact or value, they are undoubtedly the top three players ever.
Undoubtedly.
It is more, as for Michael Jordan, it is more difficult to prove that Jordan isn't a top three player than it is to prove that he is the number one player ever. So that is why he is in the top tier.
I mean, you just gave an outline, but you didn't really prove anything, man.
Excuse me?
You just gave an outline, but you didn't really prove anything.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Oh, you had a pause. I thought you were done.
Now, how do we typically go about choosing or judging impact and value? How do we judge that? Well, typically we go about looking at statistics or accolades. Me personally, I care more about statistics as they are actual measurements. Okay. Now, I am sure you are aware of the website known as Pro Basketball Reference, correct?
Yeah. But do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said something like, typically we go by stats and accolades. What do you mean typically?
Typically, if you're debating someone, you would bring up statistics or accolades when comparing players, the impact or value they brought to a particular team.
Well, I disagree with that, but even if that's true, just because people typically do something in a topic for the NBA doesn't mean that's the right way to do it.
Well, what is the right way to do it, according to you?
Yeah, in my opinion, there's only one way. When you evaluate a ball player and you go by his scoring, his rebounding, his free throw percentage, etc., it's statistics.
Yes, and statistics are factored into play.
Yeah, but what is awards, accolades? What does that have to do with anything? Because awards and accolades weren't around for everyone, and the voting for who gets those awards and accolades weren't the same. And
they were different.
And the best players don't always get the awards. So because things are so not the same, why would you use them to rank players as if they're pretty much on the same level?
Because they're the ultimate way we judge players. I mean, in any sport, doesn't just basketball is not just basketball. People use MVPs or statistics to judge players. They do it in baseball. They do it in football, particularly for quarterbacks.
They
do it in hockey.
I have never known any baseball player that said Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, or Willie Mays are the best because of their MVPs. They go by statistics, the batting average, the home runs, the stolen bases.
And if you go by statistics, Kareem, LeBron, and Michael are the best players ever in terms of statistics.
Well, now you're just making.
And Wilt is a close fourth.
Well, now you're just making things up. So I don't know if you go by statistics. How in the world is Wilt Chamberlain fourth? His statistics are number one.
Well, I'm going to explain that. See, now, as I mentioned, Pro Basketball Reference, they have 5 major quote-unquote advanced box score statistics.
Okay.
These statistics are win shares per 48 minutes,
I'm sorry,
player efficiency rating, plus minus, and value over replacement player.
Just one thing. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yes.
You can feel free to go in, and I want to wait, and I want to know what you got. But I was still on the other topic, man. You decided that statistics and accolades what people go by.
Yes.
And I don't know why you think that, but again, even if you think that's what people do, it doesn't make it right, because just because lots of people do something in the NBA doesn't make them right. And your point on baseball was wrong. I mean, people don't do accolades and awards on ranking players in baseball. They go by statistics. So I still want
Yes,
to
and
know.
I'm going by statistics, which I mentioned earlier. I personally go by statistics.
I thought you go by statistics and accolades.
Typically, we go about looking at statistics and accolades, and that me personally, I care more about statistics.
Okay, so you don't go
You can
by.
play, someone can play it back, and
So you don't go
that
by.
would be what I said.
You don't go by. No, no, I believe you, man. I just you said statistics and accolades. People go by that typically, and then you did the baseball thing. So so you don't go by accolades. And what was up with the baseball thing? Where do you think that people use accolades in baseball to rank players?
Well, there are certain statistics in baseball that strongly correlate with MVP awards, correct? It's the same thing in basketball, same thing in football with quarterbacks.
Well,
there are certain statistics that have a strong correlation to elite caliber, what is known as elite caliber play.
Right, but when they evaluate, when they decide who is the MVP, it's just people picking the MVP based on different things. It could be statistics, it could be who they like, who they don't like, etc.
Yes.
Okay.
But if there's strong correlation, like a 50 or more % correlation, that statistic has merit or relevance. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, yeah. So statistics have merit relevance. So can I ask you, do you think in baseball, the best, in any sport, do you think the best players always get the awards? And again, do you think accolades should be used to rank players, whether it's basketball or baseball?
If we judge players solely by the statistics, they would always get the awards. But that's not the case.
Well, that's not true.
But I'm just looking solely at the statistics.
No, but that's not true. If we go by statistics, they always get the award. That's not true.
Well, if you go by the right statistics, they would.
Well, now you're changing the topic. Now it becomes, what's the right statistic? This is a matter of opinion. People are going to give
the statistics that correlate with winning the award. Those are the right statistics.
And I'm guessing you're going to say this is what you're going to explain what those statistics are, right?
Yes.
But then you don't know what everyone else votes for. Everyone else votes for. There's no way for you to know every writer.
Well, if statistics are going to correlate with their opinion, that would still be a correlation.
No, but now we're going.
If the statistics match up with their opinion, like if they believe Jordan's the best, Kareem, and if they have the same top three, the statistics are going to match their opinion.
Well, no, but
you understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand, but now we're going in a circle. Do the best players always get the award?
They do not.
Okay, so then what would be the point in relying?
But the best players always have the best statistics.
No, but no. Now we're going in a circle, man.
They do.
No, we're going in a circle.
Even if they didn't win the award, they were the best player because they had the best statistics.
No, I understand that. I don't even know if that's true, by the way. But let's say you're right. I have to verify that. But let's say you're right. Again, you're making the point that the guy who usually has the best statistics is usually going to get the award. And when I ask you, how do you know that? You're saying, well, basically the right statistics. But what are the right statistics? You have no way to know every person who voted.
Yes, if we know what statistics correlate with winning and winning in elite caliber play, then we know what the right statistics are.
But
and the stronger the correlation, the better it is for the better the statistic is to use.
Right, but you don't know what everyone else is doing, what their criteria is. Everyone goes by certain stats. That's true. So, for example, points will be ranked higher than turnover ratio. That's true. But most other stats are important. I don't know anyone who would say, well, rebounds are more important than assists, or steals are more important than field goal percentage. They're all important.
Well, I'm not talking about those stats. I'm talking about box score statistics that calculate all those things. There's a formula that calculate, they put it in, and it's a calculation of the box score. The only thing that doesn't factor in is defense, and there are statistics for defense too, and award and accolades for defense.
Well, that's not true either. Defense calculates in box scores. They have steals, they have blocks. And secondly, when it comes to certain stats...
Well, there are three statistics that go all the way back to 1952 that are still available today. And if we just judge players by the number of times they led the league in that statistic, they would still be the same as being elite.
I don't follow. What do you mean? I don't know where you're going with that.
Like, say, like steals, blocks... Well, turnovers were available in 1978. That's when they were created. Steals and blocks were created in 1974. Well, statistics like player efficiency rating, win shares, and win shares per 48 go beyond those years, but they also factor those things in when those stats were created.
No, but now you're making my point even better. There's certain stats, you're going into analytics, by the way, so certain analytics weren't even around. So when you make the point that the guy who has the best stats on certain stats is going to get the award, that's your point, then how would you know every person who ever voted if they're going by the certain stats that you go by?
Well, they don't go by those stats, but if the stats correlate with the awards, what does it matter?
Well, I don't understand. You said they don't go by those stats, but I thought your point was if the stats go with the award, then it's going to be the guy who gets the best stats is going to get the award.
Most of the time, yes. If it happens over 50% of the time, it's significant.
No, it's significant, but it's not dependable.
Okay.
So if it's not dependable, why would you use accolades to rank players?
I don't use accolades, I use statistics. I'm just showing you that the statistics also correlate. The right statistics to use would be statistics that correlate with accolades or winning.
Okay, so since you don't go by accolades, I'm glad we established that. Now, I just want to make sure again, and I hope the audience is not getting annoyed. I really want to understand just to make sure we're on the same page. For baseball, why did you make the point that in baseball they use things like MVPs and those kind of accolades to rank players? What baseball fan does that in general?
I'm not sure of what baseball fan does. I'm sure they take into account a large number of things.
Okay, so you were guessing then. You were just guessing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So I can tell you right now, in general, this is not 100%. Baseball fans do not go by accolades. No baseball fan will ever come up to you and tell you, "I think Babe Ruth is better than Ty."
Well, then why are they even available?
Yeah, because why are the awards
available? Why are they created if no one's going by them?
Well, we can get into that if you want, but I didn't say no one's going by them. I'm saying no one's using them to rank players. That's my point. So no one will tell you Babe Ruth is better than Ty Cobb or Walter Johnson is better than Nolan Ryan based on MVPs and Cy Youngs and Silver Sluggers and stuff like that. They're basically going by stats, batting average, home runs, stolen bases, etc. But okay.
Well, there's better stats than those, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Well, batting average, home runs, what was the other one? Those are, when you say there's better stats than those, I mean, those are...
there's stats to factor in all those together and make it wins above replacement or on-base percentage, et cetera.
Most baseball fans, and this is most sports fans in general, do not go by analytics. I've very rarely known anyone who ever sit there, I ranked this guy Babe Ruth higher because his win per share was better than this guy. Nobody does that, man. A few people do, but most don't.
Most people on the internet do.
You've polled everyone on the internet?
If you go on Reddit or if you go on YouTube or you go on Twitter, people use analytics to judge players.
But I don't understand. You admitted a while ago that you were guessing on the baseball stuff, so now you know what baseball fans are doing?
Well, then I've seen in my experience.
Okay, well, then obviously, I apologize, man. Your experience is not enough because most baseball fans don't go by analytics. The popular...
In real life, not on the internet.
Well, it's the same. The internet and real life are the same people, man. They're the same human beings.
Not necessarily.
There are different human beings on the internet?
They're the same human beings, but they don't make the same arguments.
Right. So this is not 100%. There's no such thing as everyone. But in general, when you go by baseball fans, like if you're not a baseball fan, I don't know how you would know this, but if you're a baseball fan, you go by things like batting average, home runs. You said there are more important stats than those. I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you're not an expert on baseball, can I ask, how do you know there are more important stats than those? And
because if there are stats that factor those things in, then there's better stats to use.
But analytics is very misleading. They're not dependable. You don't need analytics to determine ball players. If you did, then by your logic, before analytics, there's no way Michael Jordan, Kareem, and LeBron would be number one then, because they don't even have analytics to evaluate them.
They have statistics.
Okay, but you're going by analytics. You've been focused, I can tell.
All statistics are analytics.
Well, okay, how do you differentiate between you know what I mean by analytics, man? If you say they're all analytics, fine, but you know what I mean. There's certain stats that were more well-known, and there's these new ones that come out lately. How do you want to differentiate between those two?
Differentiate between, you can use statistics and analytics to differentiate between more advanced stats or whatever you want.
So I'll call them whatever, just to make sure you understand. Do you want to call them advanced stats? Is that better?
Yeah, we'll call them advanced statistics.
Okay, so most of the fans don't go by advanced stats. It's in baseball or basketball. I'm sure some do. I know lots of do. But if you want to make that point that they're all analytics, by your logic, you can't have Kareem, Jordan, and LeBron James because before those stats were around, how would you determine they're the best then?
They'd go by using accolades or stats in general.
Okay, so
or just watching them play.
Okay, so can you use regular stats instead of the advanced stats?
Well, the advanced stats are available for Wilt and Russell and Kareem and all those other great players that played.
When they weren't
around, don't have the same number. There's just not the same number.
Right, but when they were not around, then are you telling me that would Kareem, Jordan, and LeBron still be the three guys?
Kareem, LeBron, and Jordan for what?
For your
Can you
top,
repeat that?
yeah. Well, you know how you were making the point that they have these stats. So by your logic,
Yes.
if these stats are not around, they don't have them. Okay, let's because there was a
Yes.
time they're not around. Does that mean Jordan, Kareem, and LeBron would not be the top tier? Would Jordan not be number one if you had to decide?
Well, if we just judge by how would we measure them then?
Yeah, you do what everyone else pretty much does. You go by the regular stats, man. The regular stats are all you need: scoring, rebounding, assists, field goal percentage, free throw percentage, 3-point percentage.
But advanced stats factor in all that.
Well, okay, but that's what I'm asking you. If you want to depend on those advanced stats, which they're misleading, but if you want to depend on them, you say they're
How are they misleading?
Well,
They factor in everything. Why are you using the regular stats? Those are misleading. Advanced stats are created because regular stats are misleading.
well, I'll get into this. There's three questions or two questions that you brought up, but hold on. If the advanced stats are not around, does that mean that Jordan, Kareem, and LeBron cannot be top three then?
Well, I don't do hypotheticals.
When you have to, because there was a time when they weren't around.
There was a time when they weren't around, but we still had accolades and regular statistics.
But now we're going in a circle. We established why we can't go by accolades.
Yes.
So I don't know why you're going back to that point of accolades.
We go by skill set.
No, we go by
And
statistics.
Michael Jordan's one of the most skilled players in history.
Well, I know that, but he's not the only one.
He's one of the most athletic players in history.
And he's not the only
That's why he was so
one.
dominant.
And he's not the only dominant. So you can keep saying these things that Jordan does. He's not the only one. So again, they have statistics.
Well, if you can name 5 that are more or less, then
I can, but I really want to get you on the statistics part because I don't know why you're
right.
I don't know why you're in love with analytics. I really don't. I don't know any fan in general who's so focused on analytics, and it's only a few. But you act like they consider everything, so they're dependable. They don't consider everything. They basically are misleading. And if you disagree with me, if you really think that they're dependable, you are disagreeing with NBA experts and Hall of Famers like Jerry West. Should I believe Jerry West or you?
Jerry West uses analytics, though.
He does not. No, he does not.
Yes, he does, especially when he talks about LeBron James. He's like, he needs shooters around him. Well, how does he know that?
Okay, it doesn't mean you can never have any analytics, but he doesn't depend on them. In fact, I know this for a fact because I have a video on my page where he basically says he doesn't go by analytics. And
every NBA team has an analytics department.
Okay, well, now we're changing the topic.
And the most successful teams, like Golden State and Houston and the Celtics, the recently successful teams have analytics departments.
I know, but I was talking to you about one example at a time. We can get to what teams do and why they do it. But I'm giving you example of Jerry West for right now because Jerry West is considered by many people one of the best experts ever in the NBA, and he said in he said in a video that not only, I don't have the exact words in the exact quote, he does not go by analytics. He thinks they're misleading and they're not dependable, and you don't need them. So when you say Jerry West goes by analytics, you're again making things up.
Well, he's got people that work for him that go by analytics, and he respects their opinion.
Okay, so but now if you're saying, actually, I better rephrase what I said. It doesn't mean he doesn't 100% go by analytics. So I'm sure he goes by some analytics here and there, but he does not in general depend on them. He doesn't put them to the top. There's some analytics where you can go by. Sure, I'm not anti-statistics. You can have some analytics, but most experts, especially the old timers, they'll tell you don't need analytics. It's not dependable. It's misleading, and it can actually cause problems. I don't know. Again, you're not a baseball fan, but just to give you a quick idea, the Dodgers were in the World Series a year ago, and because of analytics, they benched 4 of their best home run hitters, 4 of them, because the analytics told them to do that. And what happens is, in the World Series, they bench 4 of their best home run hitters. Is that dependable?
Well, the Boston Red Sox are one of the best analytic departments in baseball, and they've had a dynasty for the last, 15 years or so.
And there were other dynasties before analytics.
Yes.
Okay, and you don't have to have, and I'm sure there were teams before the Red Sox when analytics were around, and they were doing well. It's just cherry picking, man. You don't need analytics.
Well, if we used analytics to judge those teams would have the same kind of similar things in common to the Red Sox.
Well, now you're making things up.
And the way the teams are run, and the way their players play, et cetera, et cetera.
Now you're making things up again. You have not gone back to every team that's ever won and compared them to the Boston Red Sox, have you?
No, I haven't. But if you do, it would be more often than not, if you compared every dynasty to each other, they'd have things in common.
I don't understand. If you're not a baseball fan and you haven't compared every team, how do you know this?
Because that's just sports in general. If you compare one dynasty to another dynasty, they're going to have things in common.
No, but your point is if you went by analytics, those other teams that didn't wouldn't be comparable to the Red Sox. That was your point.
I didn't say that.
What was your point?
I said they are comparable. They would be comparable.
Okay, so then you're making my point that you don't need analytics.
Yes.
Okay, so
the analytics can be used for those teams.
No, it can. No.
It would be useful for those teams the same way it's useful for the Red Sox.
Right. Everything helps, but there's no reason to think that you need analytics or you have to have analytics. And again, you're ignoring the part that analytics can be not only misleading, but they can actually make things worse for you. A lot of experts, I've seen plenty of NBA Hall of Famers and stars who say analytics are not reliable, you don't need them, it actually makes things worse, and it's misleading.
So what should we use instead of analytics?
Again, man, you have what does a basketball player do in basketball? He scores points, he rebounds, he gets assists, a field goal percentage, a three-point percentage, a free throw percentage, steals, blocks, minutes, plays, games.
And analytics factor every one of those things in. There are analytics that factor half those things, there's analytics that factor all those things, there's analytics that factor a quarter of those things, there's analytics for everything.
Okay, but now we're going in a circle. I know analytics factor those things in, but the question becomes, okay, let me ask you this, man. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. If the analytics factor all those things and they're so reliable, why do most NBA Hall of Famers and experts think that they're misleading and they're not reliable and you don't need them, you can go by regular stats?
Well, there's experts that think they aren't misleading and they are reliable.
Okay, but most
you're going to find both sides, people on both sides.
No, but most Hall of Famers experts don't.
Well, Charles Barkley hates analytics, but if you looked at analytics, he's undeniably top 15 all time.
Okay, but that's
why would he? You think he would know that? He would say that?
First of all, I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But again, he's not the only guy. You're just cherry picking an example of Charles Barkley. My thing is.
Well, I know he hates analytics, and he has great advanced analytics.
Right. Okay. Well, let me ask you. Do you think he should be top 15?
And I don't think he knows he has great advanced analytics because he doesn't care about advanced analytics.
So since you want to stay on Charles Barkley, we'll do that. Do you think Charles Barkley, if they tell you analytics tells you Charles Barkley is top 15, does that make it a fact?
No.
Okay, so what's the point of bringing that up then?
What do you mean? What's the point of bringing it up?
If you're saying, hey, look, if Charles Barkley knew the analytics made him top 15, he might change his mind. Then obviously turn that around. If analytics tell you Charles Barkley is top 15, is that a fact? You said no, so if it's not a fact, why do you make that point then?
Because other things factor in, like the quality of elite seasons that he had, the number of elite seasons that he had. Things like that.
But don't.
I mean, for the totality of his career, he might have been efficient, but how long was he efficient for?
Okay, so that I respect. If you go by longevity, I think that should be taken into consideration. But
and if we go by longevity and quality and quantity, LeBron, Kareem, and Jordan are the top 3 players ever.
What do you mean quality and quantity? What do you mean by that?
Like how the number of seasons that the number of elite seasons that they played. Okay, how many of those seasons did they have?
But that sounds like when you say elite seasons, I can already tell you are judging that based on analytics.
Yeah, so we can judge it based on accolades, which the analytics correlate with.
But I don't understand now. Okay, I thought you agree you shouldn't go by accolades.
We don't, but
we're
people
going back
do.
to that again?
And people that don't care about analytics and only care about accolades would know something like that.
Okay, but
now I'm telling them.
No, but you agree we should not go by accolades, right?
I respect people that go by accolades, and I would go by accolades if I was doing something like defense, which was up until 2014 was voted on by coaches, like all NBA, all defensive team selections.
Okay, so it sounds like we're going in a circle again. So you do go by accolades.
I do. I mostly go by statistics, but I do go by accolades also. Yes.
So my follow-up, man. My follow-up is going to be, why would you go by accolades when you know they're not always dependable?
Because the statistics are there. To correct them.
Then isolate the statistics. If the accolades are not dependable, it doesn't matter if the statistics are there. It's basically like you're saying, hey, I'm going to take this rotten piece of food and put it in the reliable food. The reliable food doesn't make the rotten one better. It's still rotten.
Okay.
Okay. So do you go by accolades or you don't?
I take them into account, but I don't think they're the end all be all.
Okay. So I'm not going to let this go, man. Accolades are awards and stuff like that. The best players don't always get the awards. The awards weren't around for everyone. The voting system wasn't the same for the awards. These are very significant things to go by. Why would you just dismiss that and say, well, you know what, it's dependable lots of times?
Well, okay, so let's see, from 1956 to 1980, the MVP was voted on by players. Correct?
No, I mean, do you want to get into, if I think I know what you're doing now.
But the stats correlate with the MVPs regardless if they were voted on by the players or they were voted on by the media.
Okay, let me make it simple for you.
You know what I mean?
No, let me make
it doesn't matter how they would do it done. The statistics correlate with them.
But when you go by everything, okay, when you go by the fact that some awards weren't around, it's not just the MVP. And when you go by the fact that some awards were voted differently, it's not just the players voting. And when you acknowledge that the best players don't always get the award, this is not just 1 or 2 years or a few awards. This is pretty much all accolades in general.
Yes.
So if it's that big of a thing, it's not 1 year or one player or one award, it's a big thing. Why would you depend on that?
I don't depend. I use statistics mostly, but accolades are there as a starting point.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. Why would you depend on that at all?
Depend on, because if you're looking at something and go, gee, who are the best players ever? Well, you'd look at who has the most MVPs, and then you go from there. You look at their statistics.
I already explained that. You go by what they did in a game and their career. What does a basketball player do in a game? Again, scoring, rebounding, assists, etc. His career average, and records if you want. That's what you do by. That's literally an evaluation of what a player does. That's what players check on the box score. That's what experts check. That's what owners check. That's what scouters check.
Okay. They check advanced analytics too.
I don't know, man. Every time I get you on something, you go back to like kind of agreeing, and then you go in a circle back to the original thing. I don't understand why you keep doing that.
Because advanced analytics are important. They have correlations to things that people take into account.
No,
things that are important to people.
They're important.
They correlate with elite play. Elite play can be anything. It can be how they play on the court, the MVPs they won, etc., etc.
They're important to you, and they're important to some people, but most people do not take these into consideration. And even if I was wrong, let's say I was wrong, and 90% of the voters who are on the board, on the recommended list of voting, let's say they all took into consideration, why would you have no evidence that they rely on all the analytics or some analytics? No one ever says
they don't.
Well, if you know they don't, then I'm really confused now. If they don't consider analytics, why would you go by who they vote for?
I'm just going by the correlation between the statistics and the analytics and the accolades.
You can't have it both ways, man. If you're saying the correlation is between stats and awards, you're saying they go together, and then you acknowledge that the people who vote...
I'm saying, let's take points per game, for example, all right?
Well, I really want to understand this first, okay? Because I don't want to get bogged down in one stat. Because if you get bogged down in one stat, then we're going to have a debate about that stat. I want to go by everything. If you acknowledge the voters don't go by analytics, that's what you said. You said they don't. But then you say...
Not always.
Okay, not always. So it's not that they don't. You're saying they don't always do it.
Yes.
Okay, how do you know what they do and what they don't and who does what?
We don't know. That's what they know.
Okay,
only they can know that.
Okay, so if you don't know what they do, you're right. We don't know. You're right. Other than the regular stats, we don't know what analytics they're doing and they don't. Then that means it's possible they're not using some analytics, half analytics, 90% analytics, or all analytics. And if any of those things are true, that means when they vote for someone, they're not dependable because according to you, analytics should be included then.
Yes.
Okay, so if they're not dependable, I ask the question again, why do you go by accolades?
Because they correlate with statistics. Half the time, at least half the time.
I don't understand, man.
They correlate with the statistics that are relevant.
I apologize, man. It's not, I understand what you're saying, but it's not adding up. It doesn't make sense. You're going by the accolades, and they vote for the accolades. But then you say you don't know if their criteria is dependable. Basically, what I'm saying is, you acknowledge you don't know what the voters are doing, but then you depend on their voting.
Well, their voting is renowned and respected.
Okay, but what does that prove? That doesn't mean anything. Are you depending on them or you don't?
Well, how do you judge players?
No, I told you, man. You still don't know? I go by the statistics.
You look at points per game, rebounds, and assists.
I go
there are stats to factor in all those things.
No, no, no. Okay, so let's let's start. I want to establish this, man. Are you going by accolades or you don't?
Accolades are important. I go mostly by statistics, but accolades are important.
Okay.
Accolades can be used as a starting point.
Okay, okay. When you go by
And then when you find the statistics that strongly correlate with the accolades, those are the statistics you look at.
right, no, if you do that, I'm sure it works out for you in your favor if you do it that way. But I'm questioning your criteria and your foundation. I question those things, so I'm asking you, the accolades you're going by, a lot of those
MVPs typically correlate with winning, do they not?
no, you can be an
The,
MVP.
the point of the game of basketball is to win games, yes?
Well, that's
That's the
true.
objective.
Wait, there's two questions there.
Well, the statistics that correlate with winning games also correlate with winning MVPs.
You asked me two questions. You said, does MVP correlate with winning? The answer is no. Then you said the point is to win games. The answer is yes. So MVP, you can be MVP and not win. You can score 100 points, get 100 rebounds, make 100% of your shots, and do everything perfectly, and win the MVP and lose. So I don't know why you put that together, but I still am trying to understand this, man. Accolades, a lot of them are done by the voters, the voting people, but you don't know what criteria the voters are using. So if you don't know what the criteria is, why are you depending on the accolades then?
I don't depend on the accolades. I depend on the statistics that correlate with the accolades.
I got to rephrase the question. When I say depend, it doesn't mean you depend 100%. You're depending on accolades, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why are you depending on accolades?
Because the statistics I use correlate with the accolades.
I don't know, man. Am I not doing a good job explaining to you? I feel like...
No, and you are. All right, let's take points. I'm going to start. Let's take points per game. There have been 72 MVPs in the ABA and NBA.
No, dude, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to get bogged down in one stat. Let's establish what you're doing first.
No. I'm going to go on, start with points per game, and then I'm going to show you the difference between points per game and an advanced analytic in terms of correlation to MVPs.
It wouldn't matter to me because if you're putting in accolades, that right there is going to be like, what's going on here? I still want to understand your thing about accolades. I know you don't depend on them 100%. I got that, man.
Yes.
This happened with another fan too, where I would use the word depend or something or rely, and he kept not getting it. He kept saying, I don't depend, I don't rely on it. So I know you go by different things. That's established, man. Now, I'm questioning one of those things, and that is the accolades. The reason I'm questioning the accolades is because for players to get certain accolades, they have to be voted for. For the voting to happen, you have to have certain criteria. That criteria, you go by partly analytics, but you acknowledge you don't know what they're doing. So if they're not going by analytics, then they're voting for someone that you think should not win. And if that's happening, why are you going by the accolades then?
Because, all right, let's take plus minus, all right?
I don't think you're understanding my
plus
question,
minus
man. I don't think you're understanding my question, man.
What?
No, I'm happy to get into the stats you want to get into, man. It's not a problem, but
Yeah.
but okay, you go by stats and accolades, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's put aside the stats for a second. Can we do that?
Sure.
Okay, let's go by the accolades. Voters have to vote for someone to win accolades. Some of them, right?
Yes.
Okay. When they vote, you think some may go by analytics and some may not. Is that right?
Yeah, they all go by some form of analytics, but some may not, yes.
Okay. Well, we don't know when you say they all go by some form. You don't know that.
Right? Well, they all have some form of analytics available to them. That's what I mean.
Just to make sure. Well, they have it available, but we don't know if they go by some form of analytics, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that means we don't know. It could be a low percentage, 50%, 90%, all of them. We have no idea if they're going by analytics or not. And if they go by analytics, if they do, we don't know what analytics they're going by. Would you agree?
Yes, Fred, correct.
Okay. So that means when they vote, their vote may not be reliable because you want them to go by analytics, right?
I'm just letting them do what they want, and they can vote for whatever they want to vote for. They can have whatever criteria they want.
Okay.
The point is the statistics correlate with the accolades.
Okay, so suppose they don't use analytics and they vote for someone.
Yes.
Do you depend on
Or
that?
say they just go by their eye test, or they go by
No, they go.
what they see on the court,
No, remember.
or they go by points or rebounds and assists.
Yeah. They go by
Let's say that they just ignore advanced analytics and just look at all those things.
Let's just assume they don't go by advanced stats. They go by the regular stats. They don't go by advanced stats. So
Yeah.
would you, if that happens, are you going to rely on their vote?
Yeah, because they were chosen. They're the ones that are voting. I respect their opinion.
Okay, but
it's not just 10 people voting, it's a vote. It's more than 10 people.
Right. But we have no idea, as you acknowledge, we have no idea what they're going by and what they're not going by. So you're just rolling the dice. That's basically what you're doing. So if you're going to roll the dice, that's fine. If you respect their opinion, that's fine. I wouldn't.
It's a voting system, you know. They're voting on who they think is the best player. That's the fairest way to vote on someone.
Well, that's not the fairest way to vote for someone. No, that's not the fairest way. But let's
by voting for. How do you decide MVP?
Well, again, I explained this, man. You go by the evaluation of a ball player and what they did in a game and for a season.
Okay, and the best way to do that is by using advanced analytics.
No, you go by the regular statistics. Advanced analytics is literally people.
The advanced analytics take the regular statistics into account.
But no, they don't.
They do.
Remember,
you can't say that they don't because they do.
Okay, so then if that's true, if they're so dependable, I'll ask the question again, man. If it's so dependable, why do most Hall of Famers, most experts, most fans not go by analytics?
Because they don't know about them. Because
how do you know?
For whatever reason.
What sports fan does not know about analytics?
Well, they all know of the analytics. They just don't know like the specific stats and why they're important.
Okay.
I do.
Okay, so you're telling me
more people smarter than me do.
So
people smarter than you do.
So you're telling me
they know why.
So for example, Jerry West, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Elgin Baylor, experts, former players, people who work in the front office, they don't know enough?
They do know enough, and they use analytics to help them.
They do not go by analytics the way you do.
They have people that work for them that use analytics, so yes, they do use analytics.
I gave you the example of what Jerry West said. I'll repeat it again. I have a video on my page, and he's just one example. I can give you more, where they tell you they don't like it, they don't rely on it, they don't trust it, and it's misleading.
Okay, so how do we judge players?
Okay, we'll get to that, but I want to know again. You made.
So if advanced, you keep bringing up regular statistics. Advanced analytics were created because regular statistics are misleading.
That's your opinion. You're making things up.
No, that is fact.
No, that's not a fact. That's your making.
You ask anyone what's the guy who created player efficiency rating.
I don't understand.
The reason he created it was because regular stats aren't enough.
Look, I don't understand.
They're misleading.
I don't understand, man.
That's why advanced stats are created. Because stats are misleading.
I don't understand. That's his opinion, but that doesn't make it a fact.
Okay.
So when a lot of people will tell you that the reason they have analytics is because it's either A, they want to get in on the NBA and they want to have a job. B, they want to make themselves feel better that they know something someone else doesn't know. C, they think, oh, there's new stats. People will like it. Might make some money, sell some books. And D, there's some reliability to analytics. No one says to you analytics are not reliable 100%. Of course, you can use analytics. It helps. As you mentioned, every franchise has an analytics department or analytics. But what you're doing is you're assuming, as if it's a fact, hey, stats are not reliable, advanced are reliable, everyone relies on them, everyone knows them, but the reason they don't use them is because they just don't know the stats then. You're just making things up. You don't know these things, but you're acting like it's a fact.
I'll give you my opinion.
That's fine. If you said that's your opinion, I got no issue with that. I would never debate on someone's opinion. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Now, my opinion is based on the fact that not many people know of advanced statistics.
Okay. But no, I'll tell you why I don't accept that. If you were having an opinion about what's better, chocolate or vanilla, Los Angeles or New York, baseball or basketball, that's an opinion. But when you say most people don't go by stats because they just don't know about them, that's just making things up.
Is it real? Is it though?
It is. I'll tell you why. There are lots of sports fans like Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, myself, other people on YouTube, other articles online who know analytics exists, but they don't depend on it because they know it's just people, it's misleading, it's not reliable, it's sometimes things that are not good, and it's just over analyzing. It really is.
Okay, so how should we judge players again?
Again, man, you've asked me this more than once. I've explained to you the basics things that every player does: points, rebounds, assists, steals.
Those things are misleading.
Okay. I don't understand why you're going in a circle like this. I don't get it, man. Couldn't you make?
I'm just doing what you're doing. No. Statistics are misleading.
Okay, so everything.
You can't trust them.
Right.
People don't Hall of Famers and former players don't trust them.
No, that's not true. Most Hall of Famers trust him. You're making things up again.
They trust that points per game indicates who's the best scorer.
No. Well, you gave us a specific example. I never said score. I said stats in general. You just went to stats and a cherry picking thing. Most ball players check the box scores. Most owners check the box scores. Most coaches check the box scores, and most scouts check the box scores. Now, if you want to say they're not 100% reliable, I agree with you. Nobody ever claimed stats are 100% reliable, but they are the closest.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Yeah, okay, and that's fine. I would not say they're 100% reliable because you have systems, you have teams, longevity versus
situation. You got
different things. Yes,
they don't always not all of them factor in defense.
Yeah, that's true. But you do the best you can, and at the end of the day, it's factual. The statistics are literally. This is not my opinion, man. It's literally an evaluation of what a player does in a game over an average, over a career, and just factoring it together and putting it together. That's what it is.
Yes.
Okay, but I've gotten the impression from you.
So what's the issue with that?
Because you take it a step further. You say they're not reliable as if it's on a higher level of not being reliable, and then you go to advanced stats. So not only do you just act like the regular statistics are not that reliable, which they are, but then you assume that the advanced stats are more reliable? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, if you're judging who's the best scorer, how would you do that?
Well, I actually don't do that. I actually don't. But if I did, and actually this is a good question, I actually don't rank players. You've never heard me actually come out and just say, these are my best players in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's no such thing.
Well, didn't you make a video with like Michael Jordan as like the 11th best player and had like no Larry Bird was better than him?
No.
Didn't you? I remember you saying he wasn't top 10 or something.
I said he wasn't top 11.
Am I incorrect?
Yeah, I said I wouldn't put him top 11, but I never made a video that he wasn't the top 11 and like who's number 1, who's number 9.
I thought I saw it in the video. Never mind.
No, but I don't have him top 11. That's true. But I mean, it seems like you don't trust, which is fine, man. You don't have to rely on stats 100%. But stats are, if you played basketball, let's try this. If you played basketball, you yourself, you played 82 games. The first thing you would do is check the box score, what you did each game, what you did each season, what you did for your career, what you did whatever every month. You're literally evaluating yourself. It's an average and total.
Okay.
But you're acting, but correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like the impression I get from you is they're not that reliable, and then you go to advanced stats as if those are most reliable. Is that not true, or is that the way it is?
Well, they factor in more than just one statistic or two statistics or three statistics. They adjust. Like, let me bring up a few examples.
Okay,
all right?
one more thing. I'm sorry, just one more thing, man.
Sure.
If you don't rely on statistics, and then you say the advanced statistics factor those statistics in, you're contradicting yourself because you say I don't rely on.
If you just use one statistic, if you use a number of statistics, those are fine. It's fine to do that.
Okay,
but the advanced stats will do that also.
Okay, well, hold on. If you're going by my point to you was never.
If you're going by points, assists, and rebounds and shooting percentage, right? And that's how you judge players. Well, advanced stats do the same thing.
No, I don't go by just those things. No, I go by all the stats.
Yeah, and there's advanced stats that take all the stats into account.
Okay, but if you don't rely on the first set of stats, why are you relying on the second set that just literally takes in all the first set that you don't rely on?
What do you mean? It's not that I don't rely on those statistics. It's that the calculation of those statistics is better to use. Or, you know what I mean?
But if you say those first set, the ones that everyone else uses, points, rebounds, assists, etc., if those are not reliable, and then you say, well, I'm going to take
on their own, they're not reliable, but together they make they're good to use.
But when you say on your own, I want to make sure there's no misunderstanding. I hope you don't think that I'm saying to you, this guy is the best player based on one stat or based on two stats. Nobody does that. I mean, I shouldn't say nobody. Most educated fans don't do that. Most educated fans, when they rank players, they go by all the stats. Scoring, when I say all, I don't mean literally 100%, but they go by pretty much like scoring, rebounding, assists, steals, etc., etc., etc. So is that not reliable to go by all those stats?
You can do that, but advanced stats do that too.
No, but I don't understand. If you can do that, why would you have to overanalyze and go to advanced stats? You're just overanalyzing. What's the point?
Well, we don't know what stats matter more than others. There's advanced stats that take more consideration. Some stats into greater consideration. There's advanced stats that take
Well,
consideration.
I'll show you how it doesn't now. I'll show you how it doesn't. If Wilt Chamberlain averages 50 points and 29 rebounds and makes 70% of his shots, and I can give you more examples, but you get the point. No advanced stat is going to tell me, hey, that's not reliable. Now let me put it all together, and now Michael Jordan is number one. It doesn't make any sense. It's somebody.
No, I'm not saying that.
Right, I know you're not. But advanced stats is somebody literally making up a criteria and then telling you it's a fact. It's not reliable, man. Again, it can be misleading. It can actually cause problems for a team. It's a computer telling you things. It's not a human. If you say regular stats are not reliable, well, then you can say advanced stats are not reliable because they're misleading and they actually sometimes can hurt a team from doing as well as they could. Advanced stats will tell you to bench 4 home run hitters in the Boston Red Sox. Advanced stats will tell you that Anthony Davis is like the 3rd best, I think, PER player of all time. Advanced stats will tell you Draymond Green, I don't have the exact stat. He's like the number 1 defender ever. I'm just making up some examples because I know there's something like that. If you go by advanced,
but all that's telling you is that they're good players,
and that's fine. But do you believe Anthony Davis is 3 and Draymond Green is 1?
in terms of what those stats are measuring. Yes,
You're kidding me, man.
if that's what they're measuring, in that measurement, that is what they are. But we don't just look at one measurement; we look at a number of them.
Okay, but then I like to know this actually. This is I'm actually wow. I don't know what stat that was, but let's assume it was Anthony Davis was number 3 in PER. You truly believe Anthony Davis is number 3?
He's number 3 in PER, but he might not be number 3 in plus minus. He might not be number 3 in win shares per 48.
Okay, so
He
then,
might not be number 3 in win shares.
what's PER by the way? I don't even know what that is. What is that?
It's player efficiency rating.
Okay, so do you think Anthony Davis is the 3rd most efficient player ever?
Yes, it's a measure of per minute production standardized such that the league average is 15.
Come on, man. You don't really truly believe Anthony Davis is the third most efficient player ever, do you?
Well, let's see if he is. What is it? Third. I'm just going to make sure he is third all time.
I should have. I was actually thinking if I should have that ready, but I didn't think we'd get into detail like this. I mean, I thought we might, but I wasn't sure.
I know he's up there. I'm not sure if he's actually number 3 or not.
But can I ask you if he is? If he is.
But regardless, if he's top 3 or top 5,
No, but
that's
yeah,
just one
because
statistic.
if he is hypothetically, you said you would accept it, but I don't understand how would that make sense. How would any expert agree that Anthony Davis is the 3rd most efficient player ever? Come on, man.
That would just signify that he's great.
That's fine. No,
That's all that's telling me.
No, but
And I'm looking at that stat. That's all that's telling me.
okay, that's
He's great.
That's fine. But that's not all that's telling you. It's telling you he's the 3rd most efficient. You believe he's
Based on his box score, yes, which is calculated a certain way.
Okay, now don't take this the wrong way. Okay, I'm not telling you this. If you went around telling scouting reports, and NBA owners and general managers that Anthony Davis,
That he's one of the most efficient players in the league, they probably agree with me.
No, not that. Don't change it like that. I didn't say that. I said
That he's one of the most efficient players ever, they probably agree with me as long as I didn't give specific numbers,
I didn't say that. Don't
or specific ranks.
You're changing it.
If I said he's one of the most efficient players ever, they'd agree with me. If I said he's the 3rd most efficient player ever, they're going to have an opinion on that.
Exactly, and that's my point. You're saying something else that I'm not even saying. I'm saying specifically 3rd best ever. You know, no one would accept that. No fan accepts that. But you're accepting that.
I'm not accepting that.
Okay, so then
And how many times did he lead the league in that statistic?
okay, so if you're not accepting that, then why are you accepting analytics?
Because they tell me that all that's telling me is that he's great.
No, then your interpretation is wrong.
statistic.
No, your interpretation is wrong. When the
In that statistic, player efficiency rating has a 50% correlation to league MVPs throughout history.
Okay, I don't understand, man. Now you're going back to accolades and awards. Why are you doing this, man? Come on. I thought we went through
And
this.
player efficiency rating has a 50% correlation to MVPs.
I mean, do you really want to go back in a circle for why awards are not reliable?
Well, the awards are, how else are we going to measure players to decide who the best player is not for awards
I don't
or statistics?
I have no idea why you would ask me that question again when you've asked me that so many times and I've answered that. Why do you keep asking me that question over and over, man?
What do you mean?
No, you keep asking.
Why do I keep asking? Because, well, how else are we going to measure players
No, I told you.
other than accolades and statistics?
No, you
Just what we see with our eyes?
No,
That's not reliable either, unless there's a significant number of us.
If you truly believe my answer is with our eyes, then you're not paying attention to me, man. I've answered that question more than once. I never said to you eyes.
Skill set? Do we measure it by skill set?
I never said that either. I told you.
What do we measure it by?
I told you go by the evaluation that everyone else does, or most people do, the regular statistics.
Well, the regular statistics are factored into the advanced statistics.
Okay, so we're just going in a circle.
Going in circles.
It's like a circle. It's just a circle. I don't understand.
That is the case.
No, but it's a case for you because either you truly believe what you believe, or you don't want to admit that you're cornered and wrong. It's one of those two. So if you truly believe what you believe, then I show you an example. Is Anthony Davis the third most efficient player? If you say no, then why are you saying no to something you truly believe? If you say yes, then you're not making any sense.
Because I'm not just looking at one statistic. I'm looking at a number of statistics.
That's not the point. I never said you're looking at one statistic. If you rely on analytics, if you think they're more reliable, then you have to be consistent. You can't cherry pick what you want to go by. So is Anthony Davis the third most efficient player ever?
He very well could be. I'm not saying yes or no,
Okay.
but he could be.
I apologize, man. If you believe he could be, then you are not an educated fan.
But he's third all-time in player efficiency rating.
Yeah, and nobody, I don't even think Anthony Davis thinks he's the third most efficient player of all time, but now I'm guessing, and now I'm making things up. So I just, there's no way to, there's no reason to have a debate if someone thinks Anthony Davis is third best. So let's just go to another example. Draymond Green is number one. I don't know in which one. It's one of the defensive ones. Whatever the defensive one is, doesn't even matter. Do you believe Draymond Green is number one in anything defensive all time?
I think he's up there.
Oh, that's not what I'm asking you,
And if
man.
there's a stat that says he's top three, then there's a stat that says he's top three. But if there's a stat that says he's top three, a stat that says he's top 15, a stat that says he's top 7, a stat that says he's top 20,
Right.
and I do a accumulation of those stats,
but I'm
that's
not-
an accurate representation of where he might rank.
But I'm not asking you all those questions about up there and top 7 and top 11. I didn't ask you those things. I'm asking you, do you think he's number one?
It depends on what the statistics say.
Okay. It doesn't, whatever the stat is, I don't have it in front of me. Whatever it is, do you
What
think?
what the correlation is to actually, or what we have to decide what defensive statistics are the best to use.
Man, the answer is no. He's not number one. Come on. You're supposed to be an NBA expert, I thought.
Excuse me?
No, you're supposed to be an NBA expert. No NBA expert would rank Draymond Green number one in anything defensive.
How do you know that?
I can explain that if you want, man. I apologize for laughing. I'm sorry. You've been very nice and
Well, explain
respectful.
it.
I can explain, but can I ask you, just by common sense, do you need an explanation to know if Draymond Green is number one in anything defensively all time?
Do I need an explanation?
Yeah, I mean, you have
As to why he's number one?
Yeah, you have so many defenders out there who were known as better defenders than Draymond Green.
But are they better, though? How do we know they're better or not?
I mean, if you really believe that, okay, fine. So Anthony Davis is probably number third most efficient, and you're open-minded to Draymond Green being number one. All right, okay. Continue, man. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
All right.
Yeah, no, continue. If you have, I think you had some other points you wanted to bring up. Go ahead then.
All right. Well, as I stated earlier, the reason I'm using the accolades is to show that the statistics correlate with them. That was the main point of that, however long we were discussing that.
And you already know my side of that, where I'm not going by
All
accolades
right.
then,
Well, for the audience,
and advanced stats.
now there are 5 major advanced, quote-unquote, advanced statistics. Win shares per 48, player efficiency rating, plus minus, and value over replacement player. Now, those are not the only advanced statistics, but those are the only advanced statistics available on the site known as Pro Basketball Reference that anyone could use. Now,
By the way, that web page is not always reliable. They sometimes don't have stats that go back before 1987, but it's a good page. I like it.
yes. Anyway, now you have asked, and people in the audience might ask why these statistics are important. Well, we went over that. They all strongly correlate with MVP awards.
And I disagree with that.
Yes. Now, all 5 of these advanced statistics go back to 1974, and officially go back to 1978. That is when turnovers were made. 1974 is when steals and blocks came into
I got
the
to ask
picture.
you, hold on, I got to ask you, if these stats go into the 70s and they don't go before that, why are you
Well, they do. Three of them, I'm not done yet. Three of them go before that.
Okay, what goes to the
Three of these
70s?
statistics,
What goes-
player efficiency rating,
No, but
win shares per 48 minutes,
what goes to
and
the
win shares
70s?
go back to 1952.
What goes to the 70s?
Excuse me?
What stats go to the 70s?
Go to the 70s, plus minus, and value over replacement player.
So I'm trying to understand this. If some of the stats only go to the 70s, then that means they're taking off a lot of players not on that list. Why would you rely on those stats?
Because they tell us everything we need to know about players that have played since 1974 or since 1978.
But the topic is all time, not since 1970s.
Yes, and there's three stats that go back to 1952, which is not all time, but it's...
No, I don't understand. You go by all the analytics, right? You don't cherry pick analytics, right?
I do not.
Okay,
I
so-
go by what analytics correlate with elite caliber play, which I have chosen as the MVP awards.
So you're just
Or
literally
MVPs.
yeah, you're just literally making your own criteria, your own random thing.
Yes. Well, that's the point of it. It's all subjective. GOAT criteria is all subjective.
That's true, but when you start ranking players, that's making things like it's a fact. This guy is number one, this guy is number two. It's not picking your favorite movie or pudding or city or whatever. You're going by something like ranking players. So when you're ranking players and you really believe advanced stats is reliable as you claim, then why would you rely on a stat that doesn't even go back before the 1970s?
Well, if we're ranking players all time, that just makes it easier to rank players that have played since 1978.
But the topic is not since 1978. This is all time.
I know, but those two statistics make it easier for that specific reason.
But
for those players,
I don't.
for players that have played since then.
No, I don't understand. If it's going back to the 70s, then it's not all time.
Yeah, and there's three stats that do all time. Well, not technically all time, but since the 50s.
Right, but you don't cherry pick stats. You're going by all the stats.
Yes, going by the five stats that strongly correlate with MVPs that are available on Pro Basketball Reference.
Right. But if you come to a conclusion, you have to go by facts. And if you go by facts, you have to go by all the facts. And if you're going by all the facts, then you cannot rank players because some of your facts go to the 70s.
Well, I'm not using those facts for players that played before the 70s. That's common sense.
So then you're not going by all the analytics. You're cherry picking.
I'm using the three analytics that strongly from in that time period since the 50s that strongly correlate with MVP awards.
So I asked you if you're cherry picking, you're going by all the stats. You made it seem like you're going by all the stats and not cherry picking, but now you're explaining you are going by some stats, not all of them.
Yeah, I'm going by the three. For players that played before, like if I'm comparing Jordan to, say, Kareem and Wilt, I would use player efficiency rating, win shares per 48, and win shares. But since those stats for Jordan factor in steals, blocks, and turnovers, and they don't for Wilt and Kareem, at least for part of Kareem's career.
All right, sorry, the
Wilt's
connection.
career,
Sorry,
I'm just going to judge them by the number of times they led the league in that.
One second, man. The phone quality got a little worse right now. I don't know why. Can you explain that again?
Sure. So what was the question? Can you repeat it?
Yeah. So basically what I'm asking is, I asked you earlier if you go by all the stats and you're not cherry picking, and you explained you're going by all the stats and you're not cherry picking. That was your point. Now, you then changed it to you're not going by all the stats. You're going by the ones that you want to go by. So if you're not going by...
I'm going by the ones that are correlated with MVPs. These are the only stats I'm using.
But you're going by...
With at least a 50% correlation.
You're not going by all the analytical stats. You're going by the ones you want to go by. Now, if you're doing...
I'm going by the advanced statistics that have at least a 50% correlation to MVPs.
Yeah, and that doesn't make any sense. 50% correlation to something that someone voted for doesn't... It's people making things up, man. You are taking an opinion and acting like it's a fact. In other words, just because numbers are used doesn't mean the statistical data is reliable. You can make numbers play any way you want to. There's a saying that goes... well, I forgot how the saying goes. Never mind. But anyway, if you're not going by all the stats, man. You are literally not only cherry picking your stats, but you're going by something that someone made up.
What is made up?
No, you said that there's something about 50% correlation to the MVP awards. That's just making things up, man.
At least. That's not made up. There have been 72 MVPs in NBA and ABA history. All right, 36 of them led the league in player efficiency rating, ABA or NBA.
You're going in a circle. That's your made-up stat. Come on,
No, it's not made up. It's literally a fact that 36 out of 72 MVPs in ABA and NBA history led the league in player efficiency rating.
Right, but
ABA or NBA.
No, but the player efficiency stat itself is a made-up stat, and the voting.
By a professional statistician.
Right, but a professional statistician can make up some criteria. It doesn't mean it's going to be factual. And again, the voters.
But it has a 50% correlation to the MVP award.
Yeah, when you say 50% correlation, that part is a made-up part because the person who wins the award is getting a vote. It's no 50%. It's 50% to whoever they voted for. It doesn't make any sense.
But that statistic correlates with the voting process.
Right, and I understand the process, and I'm questioning the process. The process is some criteria that somebody made up. It's not a fact.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, I thought we established this. The people who vote are not always voting for the best players, and their criteria, we don't know.
And they're voting for who they think is the best player or the most valuable player.
Right.
Yes,
And
they all have different criteria.
Right. And
well, the statistic matches all their accumulation of all their criteria.
Right. And I don't understand. If you acknowledge we don't know what their criteria is, and you acknowledge the best players don't always get the award, and you acknowledge they're just voting for whatever they want to go by, why do you then jump ship and go to, well, this analytic award is going on the 50% of the MVP accolade then? It doesn't fit. You're just cherry picking stuff.
Well, there were five major advanced statistics. I've established that correct that are available on Pro Basketball Reference.
I don't know. I don't trust analytics, so I don't know.
Okay. And there are.
Okay.
There's player efficiency rating, win shares per 48 minutes, win shares, plus minus, and value over replacement player.
Okay. So
Now,
this has to do with the. Yeah, go ahead.
now, I'm just establishing the validity of these statistics. These stats are valid or important because they correlate with MVPs. That's the main point.
I'm questioning the correlation. I'm questioning they're taking an opinion and mixing it with numbers and telling you this is the way we analyze things. It's just making things up.
It's not made up.
No,
It's literally a fact that 36 out of the 72 MVPs
no, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I know it's a fact what they're doing. I'm questioning what they're doing. That part is not a fact. What they're doing, what your explanation is of what they're doing, that's a fact. I know that. But what they're doing actually is not factual. They're voting and giving an opinion, and then a stat comes into play and is based on partly what they're voting. It's mixing in an opinion.
It correlates to it. It's not based on it. It correlates to what they voted for.
No, it says you, but that's not a fact. That is an opinion.
It's not an opinion that something correlates to something else. It's a statistical fact.
It's a fact that it's happening. I know. So in other words, I agree that there are people who are saying the sky is purple. I agree that they have a formula why the sky is purple. I agree that they're telling you it's a fact the sky is purple, but I'm questioning their criteria of why they know the sky is purple.
Okay.
So in other words, when they vote for players, voting is not dependable, man. You know the best player does not always get the award. Only Michael Jordan fans.
But if we use the statistics to judge who the best player is,
right,
then the best player would get the award.
Wrong. No, that's not true.
How is that wrong?
I'll tell you why. Because you can have... Actually, no, I'll make it simple for you. Does the best player always get the award when they vote?
No, because there's a number of criteria that the voters use.
Well, yeah, that's one thing, yes. So if you know the best player does not always get the award, then the award is not reliable to use in another statistic.
I'm not using it as a statistic. I'm just showing you that the statistics I am using to judge these players correlate to the MVP award.
Right, I know, but they
correlate to elite play. The point is they correlate to elite caliber play.
Right, and that's fine. If you ended it there, no issue because you're using an example of something, but you use that example to a conclusion, and your conclusion is based on what people randomly vote for, in part.
Okay.
So
Do you want to start this over?
no, I think this is.
I think we just established why we've been doing this for the last hour or so.
I think this is important, man. I'm putting this on. This is going on.
Oh, okay.
So, but
right.
if you want to take a break or continue
Because I think we just settled why we just discussed what we've been talking about for I don't know how long.
Yeah, no, we've been doing it for, and I want to point out to
that just finished it.
Yeah, and I want to point out to the audience, this guy has been very nice, very respectful. Other Jordan fans may get emotional. In fact, some of your fellow Jordan fans might write some stupid things in the description here, the post.
The point is that the statistics I'm going to use correlate with elite play. I haven't even gotten to my points yet.
No, I got you. I got you. I was just giving some compliments to you right now, man. I was just letting the audience know that you were very nice and respectful. I don't know. Did you miss that or?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. I appreciate that.
No problem. By the way, I didn't want you to think that I was waiting for you to say thank you or anything like that. I just when you went to the back to the topic, I was like, oh, maybe he missed it. I wanted to make sure you got it then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So are we in agreement now, or do you still think?
We're in agreement. The whole idea of what I was doing, I just wanted to point out that these statistics I am going to use strongly correlate with elite play.
And my point to you was you shouldn't go by those things.
And the thing I used, the barometer I used, I don't know the correct term, but I used MVP awards to show how these statistics correlate with elite play.
And my point to you was you should not go by those things. They're not reliable, man. It's people making up their own criteria.
The MVP award?
Yes. People voting is not reliable. It's not a factual thing. It's just random people giving a random.
What signifies elite play then that these statistics could correlate to? Right. What else correlates with elite play?
You've asked me that question more than once, and I've answered it more than once, man. Again, when you play basketball, what's the first thing that everyone does? The player, the coach, the owner, the scouts, the fan, the expert, the writer, whoever, the players, other players, opponents.
Well, the objective of the basketball is to win the game, and these statistics also correlate with wins.
Well, now we're going to wins and specifically. I don't depend on any analytics. You don't need it. You can perfectly analyze a player, a team, and have a winning team that wins a trophy without even using analytics. They did it all the time, man, and they do it today. Don't be fooled. I used to work in the NBA, man. Don't be fooled if you think that the reason they're having winning teams is mostly analytics. It's a small piece of it, depending on the franchise. Everyone's different, but most of them don't rely mostly on analytics. And you can't say they don't.
Not mostly, but they do rely on them.
They have some. That's true. And I would never make the point to you that analytics is 100% unreliable. I would never make that point. It helps, but it is a very low, small thing. And the reason lots of franchises have this is because, like in any business in the world, it becomes a copycat. Well, this guy has analytics. This guy has analytics. That guy has analytics. Okay, we better get analytics. And sometimes they only have it because they don't want to be laughed at. Like every other team has gotten new and modern and trendy. So we're like the old guys who don't have analytics. That's one of the reasons. But again, as a reminder, man, most Hall of Famers don't use it. Most of the franchises don't rely on it like on the top. It's like on a lower level. Most players don't and most fans don't. You can't just dismiss that, man, and then claim, well, they don't know about it. The owners, the Hall of Famers, the experts know about it.
Okay. But if we had to choose, we would use analytics to make our decision, correct?
Well, just to make sure, because I know...
If we had to choose, like in general... There is no greatest player of all time. There is no best player of all time. But if we had to choose, we would use analytics to make that choice.
Well, just to make sure I understand your question, because earlier you mixed in the regular stats with the analytics. You said they're all analytics. So are you talking about the advanced stats or the regular, the traditional stats?
I'm talking about all stats, which the advanced stats take the traditional stats into account, most of them. So the ones I'm using do anyway.
Okay, so to answer your question, the answer is no. Because if you're taking all those stats, then no, we would not use all those stats. If your question is, do we use statistics? The answer is yes.
Okay. Well, advanced analytics are statistics.
Right, so that's, no, but I differentiate, I gave you a separation. I said if you're talking about all the stats, so traditional stats and analytics, the answer is no. Most people don't go by all those things. But if you're going by the traditional stats, the answer is yes. So that's what I mean. What do you mean by analytics? I think you meant all of them, right? Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people don't go by everything. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the entire point of this was for me. I established that I don't believe there's a specific greatest player of all time, right?
That you do or you don't?
I don't believe there's a great. I don't in any sport. I don't think there's a greatest player of all time. I think the concept is subjective.
Okay.
And I'm just giving my reasoning for why I picked Michael Jordan as number one based on statistics.
So can I ask you, after everything that we've gone over, do you still want to rely on analytics, man?
Yeah.
Come, everything went out the window, huh?
Well, I think everything. If the analytics don't matter, then everything is pointless.
No, it's not pointless. That's not true.
Yeah, it is pointless.
It's pointless to you, but not to most people. Just because you say it's pointless doesn't mean it's pointless.
Well, then how do we measure impact and value?
No, again, I don't know. I don't know why you always ask me that question over and over.
How do we do it? How do we measure impact and value of players?
Okay, here, I'll tell you. Let's try this, man. What does a player do in a basketball game? Just give me some examples of what he does.
He can create shot opportunities.
Okay.
He can shoot.
Okay.
He can the creation, execution.
Bro, come on.
He can pass it. That's part of creation. Pass, shoot, rebound.
There you go. So pass, shoot, rebound, percentage of shots, free throw percentage, 3-point percentage, block, steals, assists. I think I said pass. Turnovers, minutes plays, games played, average, career totals. You have everything you need right there. Not 100%, and they're not always reliable, and they can be misleading, and there are other stats, but those are pretty much everything. What you're doing is you're downplaying those stats and elevating
I'm not
analytics.
downplaying them. I'm just saying that those stats are good, but there's better stats we can use that take all those into account.
No, but that's literally, this is not an opinion, man. That's factually, literally an evaluation. That's what a player does in a basketball game. Those are the things. There's nothing else in general. I'm not saying there's literally nothing else, but those are the majority, general, usual
So
things.
is it pointless to just decide who the best player is?
Say it again?
Is it a pointless thing to decide who the best player ever is? Is it just completely pointless?
I mean, I do.
In any sport?
I don't think you have to rank players, but some people do it, and they do it all the time with the traditional stats.
Okay. Well, they should be doing it with stats that take all those stats into account.
No, because again, well, now we're going to go in a circle, man. So I mean, I'm trying to understand if you agree that if the best player doesn't always get voted for, it's an opinion. It's people just come with their own criteria. You cannot include a statistics and analytics that takes that into consideration because that thing is.
They don't take it into consideration. They take the regular statistics into consideration.
You said it was 50% evaluation of the MVP.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's a correlation between MVPs and advanced statistics.
And the correlation should not happen because of that process is not a reliable thing. I don't know why you're like skipping past that. Like, I know you get it, but then you keep going to that as if it's dependable. And then another thing I don't understand is, why do you elevate analytics as if it's more reliable than the other stats? If you literally play a video game or you play any sport, hockey, baseball, basketball.
Well, if we're judging who the best is, we have to use measurements, correct?
But you don't even rely on the statistics. So whether you rank the player or you don't, it doesn't matter because do you rely on those statistics or you don't?
I do rely on the statistics. I just rely on an accumulation of the statistics.
Right. So, but if you're going to go by the accumulation, then you have to go by everything. You cannot cherry pick what you want to go by and make up your own criteria. That's what you did. Remember I asked you, I said to you, you're making up your own
Well,
thing.
if I just went by points per game, for example, there's only like a 25% correlation to the MVP award.
You keep giving that.
You understand what I mean?
You keep giving that same example over and over of scoring. I know you're just giving one example, but why? No one ever said to you the best score.
It'd probably be the same for passing and rebounding too.
So what you do is you go by each stat. You say, okay, this guy has 30 points, 11 rebounds. He makes 70% of his shots.
And that's what advanced analytics do.
Okay, you say that, but then you go by analytics that you want to go by. You're not going by all the analytics, and you can't cherry pick like that. Either
I don't have all the analytics available to me. I have the 5 that are.
No, but then you cannot use that as a criteria. Either you go by it or you don't. So for example, let me show you what you're doing. You know how you said to me earlier, we can't just go by scoring because scoring is obviously not reliable, right? Remember how you said you can't go by one stat, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, apply that to analytics. You can't just go by some analytics. If you were doing traditional stats, you have to go by all the traditional stats, or most of them. So same thing happens in analytics. You can't just go by what you want to go by. You have to go by most of the analytics then.
Well, that's what I'm attempting to do with the analytics I have available to
But
me.
that's not what you explained to me earlier. You made it seem like you're not going by all the analytics. You're going by some, like you're making up your own criteria. Are you going by most of the analytics?
The major ones, yes.
Okay, the major ones. So you're not going by most of them.
What else is there that I could use that have strong correlations to the MVP award?
There are tons of analytics, man. Tons.
That have strong correlations to the MVP award?
We're going in a circle again back to the MVP award. Why are you so stuck on that MVP award?
NBA or whatever.
No, why are you so stuck on that MVP award one? Why is that like your top dog one?
Well, elite play. Just replace MVP award with elite play.
No, but there's a difference because elite play could be anyone. MVP can be MVP. See, I think I know. I think I figured out the problem. Okay, I think I figured it out. Look, you've been convinced that one way is a factual way, and this happens with a lot of people. You think something is a fact, and now someone's showing you it's not a fact, and you can't accept it. This is the problem. You're going by that MVP award, and you're saying this is called elite play. There's a difference. Elite play could be any of the top players. MVP is only going to be the MVP of the season.
Okay.
So why is it reliable?
Why is the MVP award reliable?
Yeah, okay, well, that's not what I meant. I meant why is that stat reliable? But let's go with that. Why is the MVP award reliable? Sure.
Well, who do you have as the best players of all time?
Oh, it doesn't have to, does the best player win the MVP every season?
Not every season, but just give me a handful of names.
What do you mean, like of all-time players or players who should have won?
Yeah, just give me a handful.
Okay, I'll give you some names of like all-time wonderful players. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Will Chamberlain.
He's got 3 MVPs. He's got 3 MVPs.
No. What does that prove? That doesn't prove anything. I never said to you the best player never wins the MVP. That's not what I said. I know players win MVP. I don't know why you're telling me how many awards they have. Why are you doing that?
Well, are you saying they're not elite? Like, what are you saying?
No. I thought you understood this, man. I feel like I'm explaining myself over and over. The best player.
I do too.
The best player does not win MVP every year. I'm explaining myself over and over because I'm not getting it, man. So if you know they don't win it every year, it's not reliable. Why do you take something that's not reliable?
Because it's something people know and people use.
That doesn't make any sense. It's not reliable, and your answer to me is because it's known and people use it. Why are they using it?
Yes.
I'm not asking you if it's known. I'm asking you why are they using it? It's not reliable, and most people don't use it. Again.
So what is it like? How would you judge players?
Can you do me a favor and stop asking me that question, man?
Well, why? You keep saying statistics, and I say there are statistics that factor in all the statistics you mentioned.
But why do you keep asking that same question over and over? I've explained that 1,000,000 times.
Well, because that's what advanced statistics are for. They factor in all the statistics that are known, that we use: scoring, rebounding, assists, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage.
I feel like I keep telling you, here's the sky is blue, here's the reasons, here are the facts, and you keep going in a circle. I don't understand why you're not understanding this, man. I'm clearly telling you over and over. Every time I tried step by step, and you go. Every time I ask you a question, you go, "Yes, I agree."
Okay, let's try it this way.
Okay.
All right. We'll just stick to statistics, and I'll explain why Michael Jordan is top 3 statistically. Okay.
On the traditional statistics?
No, with the advanced statistics.
No, but there's no point. I don't rely on those. They're not reliable.
Well, they factor in the irregular statistics.
No. Come on, man. Is the phone connection good, man? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Are you just dismissing everything, or like you're just not getting it? Like, well, I'm telling you.
I just think advanced statistics are more important than regular statistics because they factor in the regular statistics.
But the criteria of how they use those advanced statistics are not reliable. They're making things up.
Things created by professionals are not reliable?
No, that's not what I said. I don't like when you do that when I say something and you go to something else. These particular ones are not reliable. I showed you. Every time I ask you a question step by step, You'll agree with me and go, yes, I agree to this. Yes, I agree to that. Yes, I agree to those things. And then after you agree, you go back in a circle to like basically as if you have a different opinion then. Why are you agreeing with me each step of the way and then going back to a circle then? Let's try this again. Does the best player win the MVP award every year?
No.
Okay, so you agree.
Most of the time they do, but no.
Okay, I don't even know if most of the time is true, but I'll just accept that.
I think most of the time it's true.
Okay, at least I don't know if that's true. That's an opinion, but at least we agree that every year they don't. So we agree on that then. So,
Yes.
do you agree that you don't know the criteria of every voter?
Correct. I don't know.
Okay, so far we're 2 for 2. Those are some statistics right there. 2 for 2. Do you agree that the voters are not always reliable?
In what way?
And if they're not voting for the best player and you don't know the criteria, then therefore they're not all going to be reliable, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're agreeing 3 for 3. Now,
Yes.
here's the big one. Why do you then use a advanced statistic that depends on what those people vote for then?
Because people use MVPs to judge who the best player is or in the league.
You see what I
It's
mean?
a vote. It's a vote on who the best player in the league is.
But the
It's
voters,
one indicator of elite play.
but the voters are not reliable. The people winning are not always
But
the
they're
best
professionals,
players. But that's not the point.
whether they be players or media members.
Okay, but we went through this step by step. I asked you, does the best player win every season? You said no. I asked you, do you know the criteria of the voters? You basically agreed you don't. I asked you, are they
No, but I respect their opinion, and I think their opinion is valid.
That's fine. But then I asked you, do you know that are they always reliable, the ones who are voting? You agreed they're not. But then you jump ship and you take into consideration what they're doing as if that's a fact.
Well, it's accumulation of what they did. They all had a vote. They all voted, and the result of their vote was that of certain player won MVP.
But we're not disputing that they all voted, and we're not disputing that the player won the MVP award then. We're disputing if they're reliable and if the best player always wins then.
No, they're not always. It's not always reliable, and the best player doesn't always win.
Okay, so if it's not reliable, man. There's nothing else to it. It goes out the window.
So what should I compare? What should the statistics correlate with, if not MVPs,
It doesn't. Why does it?
to establish their validity?
No. What do you mean? I don't understand the question.
Wins?
I don't understand the question. You said
The reason I brought up these statistics is to explain their validity.
and they're not valid.
And do you think advanced statistics are valid?
No. I thought I've established that over and over. They're not.
Well, what is valid to compare
No,
players?
there you go again. Ask me the question.
How do we measure value and impact and who the best is and who's not the best?
Can I ask, instead of me answering that question for the millionth time, can you take a guess? What do you think I'm going by?
I think you're going by everything or your own opinion.
I'm going by this. Everything means. What do you mean?
Like you're going by your own opinion because it's subjective. Your own criteria. You have your own criteria. I have my own criteria. People listening have their own criteria.
Most of these people don't go by your criteria.
A number of them do.
Most don't.
Yes.
Okay, so why are you in the minority correct?
But why do I have the same opinion as people that don't have the same criteria as me?
No.
Why do I have the same top three as someone who goes by something else?
But now you're contradicting yourself. You rely on the majority of voters. You don't go by the minority, you go by the majority. So now be consistent. Why do you rely on the minority?
I don't go by the voters, I go by the statistics. That also happen to correlate with what the voters think.
And part of those statistics, as you just said, are based on what the voters think.
The statistics have nothing to do with the votes.
What do you mean they have nothing to do with the votes?
But I get it that the some voters take the statistics into account, but we don't know for sure.
Most probably don't take analytics. There's no proof.
Well, we don't know that.
No, of course we don't. But over the years, since the NBA has been founded, most experts, when they vote, they go by the traditional stats. When analytics started getting popular,
And in the last 15 years, they've gone by the analytics.
you don't know. You just said you don't know that, and then
If you look at the voting, they do.
No, that's just
If you look at the correlation.
No, that's a coincidence, and that's the point right there. You
Well,
don't
the
need.
correlation's gone up in the last few years between the advanced statistics and the voting. voting.
Now you're just making things up.
So that means more voters are looking at advanced statistics, so it's going up with the statistics. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know what you're saying, but your analyzing is terrible on this. No, if they're doing something every year over and over and over the same way, and then all of a sudden something new comes into play, you can't say, well, look, the same thing they've been doing every year is proof they're going by this new thing. It's the same thing. It just happens to be a coincidence.
Okay.
In other words,
it's a significant, it's pretty significant.
But you just admitted a while ago you don't know for sure what they're doing, and now you're telling me you do know.
Well, the statistics are saying it's more likely than not that they are looking at these statistics because the statistics are matching what they vote for.
But we're going in a circle again. It's a coincidence. It's the same thing.
It's a strong coincidence, which is what a correlation is.
No, but it doesn't mean they're going by analytics. You're just assuming things. You just said to me a while ago you don't know what they're doing.
Why is it going up? How would you explain why it's gone up if you're not looking at analytics?
I don't even know. I'm definitely not going to depend on you saying it as if it's a fact. You say it's gone up. I don't know what you're referring to, but even if you're right and it's gone up, whatever it is, if they vote for Michael Jordan, you can't just say, well, they're voting for Michael Jordan because of analytics. They voted for Michael Jordan because they thought Michael Jordan was the best based on traditional stats and based on what everyone else thought.
Okay.
In other words, take out the analytics. Would they not vote for certain guys? How do you know this? You just said a while ago that you don't know what they're doing, and now you're telling me you do know what they're doing.
They do know what they're doing because they're professionals.
Okay, so you're changing your answer.
But we can't always trust their opinion because we both have the same opinion on it.
You're changing your answer. A little while ago, you acknowledged, actually more than once, you acknowledged you don't know what their criteria is. You don't know every criteria. Yes. But now you're telling me you do.
In recent years, the correlation has gone up, so that must mean something, correct?
So no, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a coincidence. You're taking it as if you know. Is it
just a coincidence, though?
Okay, again, would they not vote
for... Why is it going up? Just think about why is it going up?
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Why is the correlation increasing over the years?
I heard you, man. You're not understanding what I'm saying. If they vote for LeBron James in 2006, whatever year, and then they vote for him in 2011, you can't just assume well, it's got to be because of analytics. It doesn't make any sense. They're voting for LeBron because many people thought he was the best player.
Yeah.
So in other words, take out the analytics. You have no reason to think they're not going to vote for LeBron James.
Could you repeat that? You kind of sound far away.
Yeah. If they take out the analytics, you have no reason to think they're not going to vote for LeBron James.
Correct.
Okay, you say correct. This is what I don't get about you. I mean, you always, not always, many times you agree with me.
I just have my own criteria. You have your own criteria. The audience has their own criteria.
No, I know.
I'm just explaining my criteria.
And I'm questioning that criteria.
And you're trying to poke holes in my criteria, which I don't understand why.
I'm not only trying, I am poking holes, and I don't understand why you don't understand, because you're agreeing with me step by step. A lot of times sometimes when I ask you questions, again, you go step by step.
I established in the beginning that I don't have a specific. If I had to choose, I would choose Michael Jordan.
Right.
But I don't think Michael Jordan's the greatest player ever, the best player ever, the number one player ever. But I do believe, based on certain statistics, that he is.
Right, okay.
If I had to choose.
Right, that's fine. Now, sometimes you go with me step by step, you agree, and then when you bring it in total, when you put it all together, you disagree then. It just doesn't fit. You can't have it both ways. Like, for example, you'll say to me, we don't know what the voters are doing. And then you'll say to me, well, the last 15 years, it's a correlation. Well, how, is that just not a coincidence? And you'll tell me that you don't have one player as number one, but if you had to choose, it's Jordan and you're basing it on analytics. And you agree with me that if you take out the analytics, they still might vote for that player, but then you conclude it's got to be because of the analytics. They don't fit, man. You can't have it both ways. You tell me you go by analytics, and then you only go by certain analytics.
Well, the analytics that correlate with elite play.
Okay, all right. Okay, I think we're just going in a circle here again. So,
the point, I used MVPs as a thing, and I know you don't agree with that, but I used MVPs because it's the most valuable player. It's a measurement of impact and value.
Does the best player always win MVP?
No.
So how can you rely on that?
But the best player almost always has the best statistics.
But you're not going by almost. You are coming to a conclusion. Why would you conclude?
But the best player does have the best statistics.
The best player? How do you? Oh, I know. See, I was going to ask you, how do you know this? But then you're going to go back in a circle to analytics again. It's a circle. It's just a circle with you, man. It's like a circle here. You can't. I don't. I can't figure out where the circle starts and ends.
All right. So how do we judge players based on their based on impact and value?
Why do you keep asking me this question? That's another
Well,
thing.
you think just regular statistics. Regular statistics don't mean anything.
No, but
Like
if they don't mean anything, then nothing means anything. Those are the most reliable way. I'm not saying to you statistics.
No, they're not. The advanced statistics are the most reliable way.
Then why do you?
Yes, because they factor in the regular statistics.
They don't just factor. You said they take other things like MVP correlation 50% into
No,
consideration.
that's me doing it. Because I know it's there's a correlation between the statistics and the MVP.
If that's you doing it, why are
I'm using the MVP as a barometer.
Why
so the audience knows that these statistics have merit.
So why are you doing it when you are? If the Jerry West and the owners and the Hall of Famers and the experts are not doing it, who are you to
Jerry
rely
West and the owners and the experts disagree that the MVP? Do they also agree that the MVP is meaningless?
Listen, now you're asking me a whole new question. I have not asked them every.
Well, do they?
Well, I'll tell you why I'm answering it. I have not asked them every question in the world. I don't have an answer to everything they believe, but I know what they're doing and what they said. And they basically said analytics are over-analyzing, they're not reliable, they're misleading, and they can actually go against players and teams and winning and stuff.
So if the MVPs are unreliable and analytics are unreliable,
What
and
do you
skill
do?
set evaluation is unreliable, then how do we decide who's the best player ever?
So you're going to ask me the same question again. I keep explaining to you over and over.
Statistics are unreliable.
But they're not as unreliable as you think they are. They're unreliable 100%. I never said to you statistics are 100% reliable. We know statistics can be misleading. It depends on systems. It depends on areas.
In fact, the more statistics we factor in, the less misleading they're going to be.
Right, but there's only certain statistics in a basketball game. Rebound is an actual statistic. Other statistics like MVP 50% correlation is a made up, it's not even a stat, it's a made up thing.
Well, that's not the stat I'm using. I'm using win shares per 48, player efficiency rating, value over replacement, plus minus, and win shares.
Right, but you're using...
Those are the statistics.
Right, and we haven't...
Factor in scoring, rebounding, turnovers, steals, blocks,
right, and
three-point percentage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And we have not gotten, obviously, into each of those things, but so far what we have gotten into is not reliable. I don't understand why you say that.
Well, what is reliable?
You've got to be kidding me, man.
Well, you just said that statistics aren't reliable.
No, they're not 100% reliable. Look.
Yeah, neither are advanced statistics.
Right,
but they're more reliable than regular statistics because they take those statistics into account.
No, they don't. You just gave me examples.
Yes, they do take them into account.
They make up a criteria on how to take it into account. Just because you take something into account.
Yeah, they make up a formula.
Right, that formula...
They attempt to put context into statistics. Advanced statistics, the purpose of advanced statistics is to put context into regular statistics.
Right.
Is to put regular statistics into context. That's the whole point of it.
Right, but it's somebody coming up with a formula. If a player does something...
That's a professional statistician.
Right, and so now if you're going to use that word professional again, then I'm going to say it to you again.
Well, they're getting paid to do this.
Right.
So.
I'm gonna tell. Well, I'm sure he's not going to stop doing what he loves to get paid for. So he must be reliable because he's getting money. It doesn't make any sense. Just because he's getting money means he's reliable. People have said, a lot of people in analytics just found a way to have a job to get in. Like, hey, I got some new formula, hire me, which is a great thing to do to make money. But that doesn't mean just because...
Well, they can ask him, why is your formula important? Or why is your statistic important? And they'll say, because it correlates to wins.
Right, and then...
And they'll go, oh.
And then what happens, most owners, most Hall of Famers, most scouts, most players, fans, experts, TV writers do not go by the thing that you just said.
We'll take it into account, but then we'll go 100% go by it.
So you can't have it both ways. If you want to sit there and tell me they're professionals, they're getting paid, they showed a formula, and they're being accepted, then go all the way with that. Don't stop there. When they got accepted and paid as professionals and hired and they're being used, they are not on the top of the list. They're being used at a very minority area. Okay, so therefore, you can't have it both ways. Are they pros who are professional and reliable? If you say yes, you have to explain why they're not on top of the list. If you say no, then throw it out the window. Don't use it.
What is the question?
if you're saying to me, it's okay. If you're saying to me, maybe that's why we're going in a circle. Are you not able to understand me well most of this time?
I can hear you and understand. Sometimes I go too fast. Sometimes you go too fast. We don't get our points across quite well.
So you can understand me for the most part.
I can understand you now. Yes.
Okay.
I'm responding to you.
For most of the phone call, could you understand me pretty good?
Pretty well, yes.
Okay. If you say to me they're professionals and they get paid money and they're reliable and they got hired, you're painting a picture as if, look, dude, they're pros. They know what they're doing. They're getting paid. They're in the business of the NBA. So then they're in the NBA then. So if that's the case, you have to keep going there. You don't stop there. If they're that professional and reliable and they're in there and they're getting money, why are analytics on the lower end of hardly being used when it comes to evaluation and whatever they're doing?
Teams use analytics.
I know they
Not
use
on the lower end. Plenty of teams use them, and most of the most successful teams use them. I mean, who's the guy from Houston?
We're going in a circle. We're going.
The GM from Houston who loves the analytics and is crazy about them.
No. Now we're going in a circle again. I thought you agreed with me earlier that they're not on the higher end of the list. Most people don't use them. They're on the lower end. Now you're telling me they're on the higher end.
Yeah, advanced statistics factor in regular statistics, so they're better to use than regular statistics.
No, dude, you're not understanding. Dude, you're not understanding what you're not understanding.
They put statistics into context.
Dude, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm not sure why you're not able to understand like basic things that I'm telling you. Now you're telling me what analytics does. I'm not asking you what analytics does. I know that. I'm asking you, why are you changing your answer about how reliable they are for NBA owners, managers, teams, and players?
They do factor those. They do factor analytics in. They just don't use them as the end-all, be-all.
Yeah, you're not.
They factor them in.
You're still not understanding what I'm saying. I know they factor it in. You don't have to tell me they factor it in because I acknowledge that. It's factored in. Stop telling me that, please. I'm asking you why. I feel bad now. You're being nice and respectful. I'm sorry. I apologize, man. I shouldn't act like disrespectful like that. I'm sorry. I want to the audience. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing to him. I'm sorry, and I shouldn't have reacted that way. He's being very nice, respectful, and pleasant. Sorry, man. Okay.
We've been going in circles for like an hour. They might not be listening.
Actually, you know what? So far in the podcast that I put on, so far the only people who question anything are the Jordan fans. Everyone else is pretty cool with it. But you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe they won't like this one. Maybe we'll figure it out. Okay. So we know that analytics are in the NBA. So there's no dispute they're there. Okay. We know they're pros. We know they get paid money. We know they're a factor. Are we in agreement with all that?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm trying to establish. I thought we agreed that analytics are on the lower end of what they're doing when they come to evaluating players, ranking, whatever, scouting, trading for players, signing free agents, whatever. I thought you agreed, but now you're questioning it like you think it's higher on the list. So what is your opinion?
It's probably somewhere in the middle, closer to the higher end than the lower end.
How do you know that?
It's just a guess.
Okay, so then you're guessing.
But I know the significant teams, the teams that focus heavily on analytics are some of the most successful in the NBA.
Okay.
So I assume they're important.
But they had good players. You don't need analytics to know who's a good player. If Steph Curry makes a bunch of threes, there's no analytics needed to know he's drilling his threes. If Klay Thompson...
Well, there's analytics that show that when he's on the court, that his teammates also go up in efficiency by 10 or 15%.
Right, but
we wouldn't know that just by watching them play.
But you don't need to know that because he's going to be on the court anyway. There's nobody who sits there and says, "Hey, everyone, should we have Steph Curry?" Well, I don't know. What do the advanced stats say? Everyone knows you need Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Well, players need rest too, so...
Right, okay, so that's where analytics come into play. That is not on the top end of the list. That is literally in the smaller things. Steve Kerr has made this point, by the way. Steve Kerr has said, analytics have a place, but it's not that... I don't have the exact words or exact quote, okay? But he basically made the point, it has a place, and you gave a good example now of the minutes played, but it's not on the important part of the list. So when you guess that it's like in the middle or on the higher end, then you're wrong, man. You're just guessing wrong.
Well, then why do all these successful teams have analytics departments? The most successful ones have great analytics departments. Why is that the case?
And I've answered that.
Because they have great players. Yeah. Well, how do they know? How do they draft the players?
Okay, so
how do they know to draft the players that are great? How do they know to pick them up from free agency? How do they know those players would fit well into their system?
One at a time, man. One at a time. You can easily.
Well, how do they know those players would fit well into their system?
I got you, man. I
will stick with that one.
I don't even know why you'd ask any question, because they were drafting Michael Jordan and Magic and Larry Bird, everyone before analytics.
Correct.
So what you're doing,
regular statistics.
Right, but what you're doing is you're taking what's true. Hey, look, they got Steph Curry, they got Magic, they got Michael, they got whoever, Elgin Baylor, and then you're assuming it must be because of analytics. Why are you so stuck on analytics? I don't get where this is coming from.
Analytics is a part of it. It's not the only reason. It's not on the lower end either.
Okay, but I need to know how you know these things. You're just literally making things up.
Because the best teams in the league have strong analytics departments.
We're going in a circle again. I don't understand this, man.
Well, what are you understanding about teams being successful having good analytics?
Let's try this.
Sure.
Okay. In 2000, analytics weren't as popular as it was today, right?
That is 100% correct,
okay.
Yes.
They had Shaq and Kobe, the two best players, right?
Yes, well, they did have. Well, analytics has been around since probably the mid-'90s.
But they didn't rely on it as much back then, right?
Well, they didn't rely on it. They looked at it, but it wasn't until the mid-2000s they started really looking into it.
By the way, I actually disagree with how much they did, but they started getting it more around the mid-2000s, fine. But I don't know how much they did. It was very little. But that's a different topic right now. So they had Shaq and Kobe. They didn't use analytics that much. Shaq and Kobe are the best two players in the league. Now look at what you're doing. Well, why do they have Shaq and Kobe if they're not going by analytics? That's what you're doing.
Yes, well, Shaq and Kobe also have great analytics.
Oh my God, dude! Come on, man! Come on!
If you look at the analytics, Shaq and Kobe were both great.
Come on! Are you? I have to ask you something, man.
If you look at the analytics, they were great teams. Dude, the average team in the league.
I can't. I got to ask you something, man. Please be honest with me, okay? Be honest. Are you one of those prideful people who has a hard time admitting when you're wrong? Is that what it is?
I've been agreeing with you for the most part. I understand that. Well, I know there's no point. I'm just trying to explain to you that the statistics are important.
No, I'm not saying they don't play a role. Look, I was trying to show you an example. The Lakers have Shaq and Kobe. It's 2000.
Yes.
We established that analytics are not on the high end of what they're doing for players.
Well, my question is, how did they know to draft Shaq and Kobe?
Well, now you're contradicting yourself.
Statistics aren't going to, because you're going to say points, rebounds, assists, whatever, and I'm going to be like,
now you're contradicting yourself.
No,
you're contradicting yourself. I thought you agreed analytics were not that important back then in 2000.
Yes, they weren't important back in 2000, correct.
So why are you asking me how did they get Shaq and Kobe?
Because the things analytics take into account were important back in 2000.
I don't understand.
You understand what I'm saying?
You said analytics were not important, and then you said what analytics takes.
But the things, the scoring, the rebounds, the assists, the efficiency, those things were important back in 2000. And analytics take those things into account.
No,
correct?
I don't understand what you're saying. Were they using analytics back then, or were they not?
In a way, they were, but for the most, in terms of the actual names for the analytics, they were not.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay, so you do think they were using analytics back then? You got to be kidding me.
Yes, they were using what analytics takes into context and what it measures. Yes.
What are you talking about, man? They traded for Shaq in 1996. They traded for Shaq because everyone knew who Shaq was. There was no analytics involved. He scored 29 points.
Yeah, there was analytics involved because why did they choose Shaq? Why did they pick Shaq?
Maybe our definition is, I think this is a problem. Are you doing that thing again where you're saying analytics counts as traditional stats? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm just saying that traditional stats, because traditional stats are factored into analytics, then why would that analytics are important? You understand?
I don't understand, man. I don't know what you're doing here. This doesn't make any sense. I'm trying, even if I want to...
Why did the Lakers get Shaq? Answer the question for yourself. Why did the Lakers get Shaq?
Because...
1996 or 97, whatever year it was.
Specifically, aside from the fact that he was a young player in his prime, he did things like scoring, rebounding, field goal percentage, blocking shots, etc., etc., etc. Would you agree?
And you know what I'm going to say.
I'm sorry?
And you know what I'm going to say.
I'm not sure. What are you going to say?
Analytics factored those things, take those things into account. So in a way, they were looking at...
No, you're telling me what stats analytics do. That's not the topic right now. We know what the analytics do. Your point to me earlier was, hey, look, everyone, they're voting for the MVP and the team is winning has a correlation with analytics. So now I'm showing you that doesn't make sense, because it's like someone saying, hey, look, everyone, the Lakers won in 2000. They had Shaq and Kobe. It must be because of analytics. It doesn't go together because they didn't use analytics back then.
Well, they didn't use analytics, but in a way they were using analytics because they were taking into account the points, the assists, the rebounds.
So that's what I meant. So that's what we're doing. The definition is a problem. So you said you're not, but you are using traditional stats.
All statistics are technically analytics.
Okay,
yes.
But I know, but you can't keep.
Advanced analytics. They weren't looking at advanced analytics. They weren't looking at advanced statistics.
No, I know what you're saying.
So
I know the problem now. Okay, so I think you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. Maybe it's the phone. I don't know what it is. Traditional stats are separated from analytics. That's the point. So when you say they're using analytics, you're counting the traditional as analytics, but I thought you would know by now, I'm not going by analytics. I'm going by traditional stats.
Yes, you're looking at the traditional stats, but,
okay.
the traditional stats are factored into the advanced statistics.
That's not the point right now. Why do you keep telling me that? I know it's factored in.
Because you're saying to me that how did they know to get Shaq and Kobe? Well, they looked at the traditional statistics, yes?
Traditional statistics, not the analytics.
They looked at the traditional statistics.
Okay.
They looked at the traditional statistics, which are factored into the advanced statistics.
Okay, but no. They looked at traditional statistics, period. Why do you then add which factors in analytics? Why do you add that part there?
Because analytics factor in traditional statistics.
We're not talking about that.
In their own primitive way, they were factoring in.
No, we're not.
In their own way, they were factoring in the analytics without knowing it.
You're just making things up. Jerry West.
No, I'm not making things up. Why did they draft Shaq and Kobe? Why did they have them on their team?
They didn't draft Shaq. They traded.
They traded for Shaq. Yeah.
Right. So
they traded him as a free agent.
When they went to draft Shaq, so now I'm saying it. When they traded for Shaq and they drafted Kobe, they went by things like.
Well, they traded for Kobe too, didn't they?
Yeah. No, I said traded for Kobe. When they did those things, some of those things were based on traditional stats. Then you agree with that part, but then you, for some odd reason, you keep.
And by doing that, they were doing their own early version of what teams are doing today with advanced analytics.
No, they're not. They're just going by traditional stats.
They're factored in.
Okay, let's do this. Let's just to save time. I'm just going to say, let's just skip past that part. Okay, so now they went by traditional stats. We agree with that part. So would you agree analytics were not on the high end of what they did?
They're not on the high end, no, but they're not on the low end either.
You've got to be kidding me, man. You really believe it's in the middle?
Yeah.
How do you know this?
Because teams have analytics departments.
They didn't have it as much back then. It was barely used. What are you talking about, man? 1996?
Yes, but they were using the concepts that they're using, that analytics use today, except they didn't have a name for it.
So how do you know they did? Give me some evidence. What did they do?
Well, you just said why did they draft Shaq and Kobe?
Yeah, because...
Or why did they take up Shaq and Kobe?
Yeah, part of it, obviously...
Because they had good traditional statistics. Well, traditional statistics are factored into advanced statistics.
I don't understand what you mean by that. What do you mean? I know what you're saying. You're saying traditional stats are factored in advanced stats. That I know the sentence. Why are you applying it to Jerry West in 1996?
Because he was looking at traditional statistics. When he was looking at skill sets, and he was looking at other things too, but he was also looking at statistics.
Okay, he was looking at statistics. I see the problem now. I see what you're doing. Okay. He was looking at stats and skills, and you're acting like he was doing analytics. That's the problem. That's what you're doing, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay. Then you're not only wasting my time and draining me for no reason, you're being very unfair and kind of lying. You know what I was doing, and you actually changed the wording to they're doing analytics. They're not doing analytics as we know it today. They're doing something called skills.
Well, in a way they were. That's
so misleading. That's so misleading. That's not, because the topic has to do with analytics the way it's known today, and you're going back to 1996 and just changing what they
The
do.
analytics were around back then too. Like they were created. Some of these were created in the early '90s.
No, but that doesn't matter when it was created. It wasn't used that much. When someone says, "Let me check out a ball player," hey, it's 1949. How's he doing? He's not using analytics. He's going by statistics and his skill set. It's not the same. You're misleading people when you do that. And draining.
The statistics are factored in, not the skill set, but the statistics are factored
No,
in.
they do go by a skill set. I thought you said they go by a skill set.
They do go by a skill set, yes.
But you said just now.
That's completely different from this. We can measure skill sets with statistics, but that's a whole other thing altogether.
Okay, so how about this, man? Can you give me a year, whatever year you want, just make up a year, okay? What year did they not use analytics?
What year did they not use, like, in the modern sense?
Just give me a year, man. Just give me any year in the NBA when they not. Yeah, the way. I'm sorry. Yes, the modern.
Probably the
modern way.
The 50s, or probably sometime in the 50s, I guess.
So you're telling me in the 60s and 70s they used analytics?
Like with using traditional stats, yes.
Dude, this is just, I've never had a call like this, man. I'm happy that you're not getting mad and disrespectful and emotional. I'm happy you're being very respectful. I personally feel kind of bad sometimes when I get a little bit hyper, but I don't understand what you're doing. Like, I feel like all the clues tell me, and I'm not saying this is true, okay? Don't take this as a fact. All the clues tell me that either you don't know or you're too prideful to admit you're wrong. But then when you go on,
in terms of what?
But that's what I was gonna say. But just real quick, when you go on, it doesn't seem like you're being prideful, and it seems like you're not. I don't. It doesn't seem like you don't know. So I don't know why this is going in a circle like this. I don't understand.
Well, because I know that, and like what analytics is doing is trying to put things into context, and you're saying that teams weren't putting things into context back in the 90s. Well, they were putting things into context.
Right, but they're not doing the analytics the way it's known today. You know what I meant. When they're putting things into context, it's not
But they're doing it, their own version of it.
It's not analytics. It's putting if they're putting a skill set. Look, Shaq's in his prime. He's dunking. He's not analytics. He's not doing analytics. He's just going by the skills and observation of things. He's analyzing, but not the way it's meant today as analytics. You know what the definition known today as analytics means, right? The PER, the wins share per 48 minutes. Those are analytics. He wasn't doing those things.
Yes, he wasn't looking at those things, but by looking at traditional statistics, he was, in a way, looking at those things.
Okay, fine. But he was not doing those things, right?
Correct.
Okay, now that we established that. So let me tell you what the point was. When you made the point earlier about, the teams that are winning, they're winning because they're using analytics. It can't be a coincidence. And the MVPs that are getting MVP, they're top in analytics. It can't be a coincidence. I'm showing you now that the best players and the teams that won happened when they were not using analytics.
But they were unknowingly using analytics by looking at traditional statistics.
Now you're changing. No, I thought we agreed that the analytics, like the wins per share, 40.
Yeah, they weren't available, but they kind of were available. Well, not for the full.
I'm sorry.
Player efficiency rating and win shares weren't available before 1952.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Whatever you said earlier about the Golden State Warriors, Houston Rockets, the MVPs, the teams that are winning, those things that happened, what you made up, like what you were explaining, like, oh, hey, it can't be a coincidence, right? Remember you were making that point? It can't be a coincidence? Or I'm sorry. Remember you said something and I said, it's a coincidence? And you didn't agree, right? Or no?
That was for the MVPs, I think. But yeah, I have an idea. Yeah.
Okay, you're right. And even for teams winning, right? Or no?
Yeah, you can apply that too, yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay. The best player was winning the MVP and the teams were winning when they were not doing analytics, right? Or no?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So wouldn't it be strange if someone explained to you, hey, Shaq is the best player, Kobe's the best player, the Lakers won. It must be because of analytics then.
Because of well, they would have good those teams would have good. It's like analytically, they'd be good statistically. Those teams.
By coincidence, right?
Just because they were by measuring them. Statistics are measurements.
Right, but it's by coincidence, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if it can be a coincidence if that happened in the 2000s, why do you
Well,
not understand?
like every successful team is gonna have good statistics.
I agree. So if you
Yeah.
agree that it could be a coincidence, if that hypothetical were to happen in the 2000s, if you agree it would be a coincidence then, why do you not agree it would be a coincidence in the recent years?
I know teams have analytics departments, so they're looking at that stuff.
Okay, but all the teams have analytics. They all can't win. The teams with the best players and best stats are going to win. You're just assuming it's because of analytics mostly.
I'm just explaining that analytics have importance.
And that's not the dispute. We are disputing how important those analytics are.
And I believe that they are somewhere in the middle.
Okay, but you have not proven that. You're just assuming that as by coincidence. Look, the best player in the MVP, the best player wins. They have analytics. Bada bing, bada boom. It must be because of analytics.
Well, if we measure players by traditional statistics, we are measuring them unknowingly by advanced analytics because we don't.
But now you're changing now you're changing the topic. That's not the point. The point is you are assuming how important the analytics are playing a role in the NBA. Even though I've told you that most don't rely on it, you disagree. You are guessing they do, and you have no proof. Fine. Let's assume you're right.
Well, I have proof because successful teams have analytics departments.
Well, we've gone through this, man. Successful teams have been there before.
And there's teams that aren't successful that don't put much stock into
No,
it.
but you're just assuming that. They're not successful because they don't have the best players and the best team.
Okay. And statistically, those teams would be poor.
Or what?
Those teams are statistically below average or...
Right, no, we agree. But we
bad.
agree. But why?
Yeah.
Because they don't have the best players and the best team. That's why they're not winning. It has
all statistics are measurements.
Right. But you are assuming that analytics are the most important measurement, and the teams that are winning are doing it mostly because of
Analytics are just statistics, and it's all measurement.
Right, it's all measurements, but there are different formulas to analytics. It's not like the other statistics, which just go as the statistic.
Traditional statistics.
Right, it's a formula. So your conclusion doesn't make sense. You're telling me you're guessing that they're using analytics to a certain degree. You have no proof of that, and then even if you...
All teams have analytics departments, so there is proof of that.
That doesn't make sense. Every team has an analytics department. Are they all winning? Are they all getting MVP?
Excuse me? They're all winning? No, not all of them are winning, and not all of them are winning MVP, but there are ones that are.
Okay. You're not making
Not
sense.
all of them have players that win MVP.
You're literally not making sense. Your point to me was they have analytics, so therefore it's the reason. But every team, as you
It's
know,
not the reason.
but it's one of the important higher reasons, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not as high as most some reasons, but it's up there. It's important.
Now the dispute is how high. I know it's not high. You disagree.
When evaluating players, most great experts look at skill set and they look at analytics, and they match the skill set to the analytics.
No, now you're making things up. No, most don't.
No. Do you know who Ben Taylor is?
No, I didn't ask you about Ben Taylor. You said most. You didn't say Ben Taylor. I don't know why. Why do people do that? They'll say most, and they'll give you a random example. You've done that before.
Yeah.
You'll say most,
He's
and
a
then
great analyst. He's probably the best in the business.
no. You'll say so is Jerry West. So is Elgin Baylor.
Yeah.
So is Bill Russell. So are lots of people. You're just cherry picking.
And
No, why do you You've done this before. Like you'll say, oh, every team has an analytics, and then you'll give a random example of Houston Rockets. Oh, you'll give this Ben Taylor guy. You have to go by the majority. You cannot just selectively pick and choose.
we don't know what the majority thinks.
No, but you said you do. You think they all have analytics and they use it to a high degree.
Well, I know there's a lot of successful teams that have analytics departments.
And there's more that
And good
don't.
analytics
And there's
departments.
more successful teams throughout the history of mankind that don't have analytics.
But they take things into context that analytics takes into context.
We've been through this, man. Remember wins for share 30 per 36. These specific formulas they do not do.
Yes, they don't use those formulas,
Yeah,
but
that's
those
analytics.
formulas factor in the things they did take into
You
consideration.
keep changing that. Every time I get you on, well, I shouldn't say every time, but a lot of times I'll get you on that and you'll tell me what analytics do. We're not talking about what analytics do right now. We're talking about who uses it to what percentage.
Excuse me? Hello?
Yeah, man. I'm happy to continue, but are you want to keep going? Because if you're getting tired or you're not getting all this, then there's no point. Do you want to keep going?
No, we're just going at this for 2 hours, and we haven't made any progress, really.
Okay, but I'm happy to keep going because when you said excuse me, I feel like because if
I was asking you to repeat yourself.
Okay, no, that's fine. But because
That was my way of doing that. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. But if you're not understanding what I'm saying, and we're going in a circle, and we're going for a long time, and then you say, "Excuse me," it's happened before. I want to make sure. Are you okay to go? Like, are you getting all this? Is a phone call good?
Yeah, I can keep going.
Okay. You are assuming that NBA teams use analytics to a higher degree. You're just assuming things. Now, you don't have evidence, but then you say, I do. It's the ones who are winning. And then I say to you, lots of teams won before analytics. And then you say,
yes.
Well, no, they won, but they used analytics. And then I say, no.
But they weren't knowing it, yeah.
Yeah, but I say they weren't using analytics. They weren't using win shares and per 36 and those things. And then you agree they weren't, but then you go back to a circle going, no, they used it without knowing it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they did. But they did.
No, they did not.
They did.
Prove
and that's
it.
where we disagree.
No, prove it. No, this is where everyone mostly disagrees with you. Do you know more than Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Bill Russell, and all the other experts?
There's former players and experts that believe in analytics and respect analytics and take it into heavy consideration.
What did you say
For
most
example,
do?
the GM of the Houston Rockets.
What did you say most do?
No, I said a number do.
But that doesn't
significant number do.
Look, listen. Why are you going by the minority? Can you answer that?
There's no minority. If there's a significant number that do, that number isn't a minority.
Okay, but there's a majority significant number that don't.
There's a significant number that don't, and there's a significant number that do.
Okay, so you go by the higher percentage. The majority.
And we don't know what that is.
No, you've got to be kidding me, man.
We just know the significant number of people that don't like analytics and the significant number of people that like analytics. Like me and you.
Count how many Hall of Famers use analytics. Count it on your finger.
Hall of Famers?
Yes.
I'd have to research that. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay, so if you haven't done the research, how do you know the significant amount?
Because I know that there are teams that use it.
I don't understand, man.
And the GMs that use it.
I don't understand.
Like some of the most successful GMs.
Jerry West is the most successful, since you like to cherry pick Ben Taylor.
How is he the most successful?
Okay, well, if you want to get into that, we can. But you do agree.
How is he more successful than Brett Auerbach, for example?
Yeah, we can get into that if you want. But you do realize the overwhelming majority think he is the greatest general manager in the history of the NBA. You know that, right?
I do not know that.
Okay, you know
the overwhelming majority of players, current players, and former players have Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time.
No, they don't. You are again making things up.
And they do.
No, you have. Why you have?
They do. In 1998, they sure did.
Okay, no, they don't.
In 1998, they sure did. They were all asked questions.
No, they were
not. Literally an article about it.
No, you're again making things up. I don't know why you keep making things up.
I can literally type in greatest player ever, Michael Jordan.
Are you talking about the fans or the Hall of Famers? Who are you talking about?
Hall of Famers, Hall of players. When they did the 50 greatest players ever thing like 20 years ago.
There has never been a poll on the majority of Hall of Famers asking who's number one. Never. And there never will be because a lot of them are dead.
Hold on. I'm going to bring it up.
I don't know why Jordan fans always go to this poll majority thing. I don't know why you guys always do this. I know this
anniversary. I can do it right now.
Let me guess, you're going to go to the top 50 thing, right? Are you a subscriber to my page?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you not pay attention to the Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer on my page that don't pick Michael Jordan?
Yeah, even Michael Jordan doesn't pick himself either.
Right. So if I'm giving you example after example after example, I have tons of examples. And Michael Jordan himself, as you just claimed, why are you going to sit there and tell me the majority do pick Jordan?
Because a lot do.
That's not what you said. You are again changing what you're explaining. You don't fit what you explain. You say one thing and then you change it. You think the majority pick Jordan. Now you're saying a lot do. Why do you keep doing that?
Greatest players whatever on Michael Jordan.
You're not paying attention to what I'm saying, man. I don't know. I'm trying my best here with you.
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
No, every time you make a point, when I tell you about majority and minority, you always go to, well, there's a significant amount, and some do, and a lot do, and there's Ben Taylor, and there's this guy. That's not how you analyze things. You go by the majority.
Okay, and how do you know what the majority is?
Okay, we can get to that. Fine. But when you analyze things on voting, you don't cherry pick. You don't pick things that help you. You go by all the voting. You don't just go, this guy did it, and that team did it, and this person did it, and what about Ben Taylor? What about the Houston Rockets? What about Red Auerbach? These are examples you've given me. That's not how you do it. You go by all the experts, all the Hall of Famers, all the scouts, all the owners, all the general managers, not the fans. Fans are morons, but all the basically experts. Now, you're telling me you don't know, and then you still conclude the majority picked Michael Jordan.
Well, a number did in when they did the 50th anniversary. They all said Jordan's the best.
No, they did not. I know that poll, and the majority did not. But let's say
they all gave their, and there were individual players, and they all gave their opinions. They're all quoted.
Okay, and let's say you're right. I'm just gonna help you out here. Let's say that they polled all 50, and the majority of those 50 picked Michael Jordan. Let's say you're right. That obviously has changed. You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then why are you going back to 1996?
Why are you?
I never. What are you talking about, man? You brought up 1996. No, you brought up 1996, not me. What are you talking about?
You brought up with Shaq and Kobe, right?
Are you? This has got to be a joke. Are you trolling me, man? Is that what you're doing?
Am I? I'm not doing that.
Are you trolling me? What does Shaq and Kobe have to do with Hall of Famers voting for Michael Jordan?
Well, you brought them up.
How do you correlate?
We're talking about teams.
No, how do you correlate me bringing up Shaq and Kobe to you following up with what Hall of Famers voting for Michael Jordan?
Well, you said, well, why is it important that it was 20 years ago? I said, why'd you bring up Shaq and Kobe from 20 years ago?
Oh my God. Because I was trying to show you at that time. I can get that. We can get into that. But aren't we on the topic right now of what most Hall of Famers vote? Isn't that the topic? Do you want to get back to Shaq and Kobe?
No, we can get back to whatever you want to get back to.
Okay, I can go back to Shaq and Kobe because I don't want you to think I'm dodging your question. I can get you on that.
Teams factor in analytics. That's the whole point.
But the topic right now was most Hall of Famers voting for Jordan. Why would you follow up to me and say, why am I going back to Shaq and Kobe?
Well, because you're dismissing the point that it was 20 years ago where these quotes were from.
No, because you just admitted that even if it's true, that it's changed. If it's changed, yes. Why would you go to that in the first place?
Well, there was a poll done recently where 79% of active players had Michael Jordan at number one.
No, you're making things up again. You really got to
79% of active players were polls.
Listen, man, listen.
That were polled.
I have an answer for that. Listen, you know, one of the things I've noticed about you Jordan fans, you're not the only guy to go on my podcast. I've seen this has happened a lot. You guys don't do your research, and then you come to conclusions then.
What about people? Okay, do you know what Real GM is?
I'll tell you that poll.
Are you aware of the website known as Real GM?
Let me get to that poll. That poll, and you're not the only Jordan fan to go with that poll. You guys love that poll. That the majority.
The Real GM poll?
We can get to that too if you want, but let's go to the first one. The poll.
They do it every 2 or 3 years, right? Since 2003.
Are you actually interested in my answer, man? I'm trying to get to that poll.
No, I'm explaining to the audience.
Okay, yeah. So that poll that you gave, that 70% poll, let me tell you about that poll that you Jordan fans love to bring up so many times then.
I just brought it up because you were asking me, because you would bring up the point that it was 20 years ago.
Right, and I'm telling you why it was, and I'm telling you why it's a bad example. I know why you brought it up.
And there's a recent poll of the current players.
You're not paying attention to what I'm saying. I'm trying to show you something here, not even like trying to understand.
Go ahead, make your point, please.
Thanks. That poll that you Jordan fans love to go over then.
The one of the current players, correct?
79%, whatever that was. In that poll, there's a few things you obviously did not research. They barely polled anyone in the NBA. They polled less.
How many people did they poll?
I'm getting to it. They polled way less than half. If I remember correctly, it was about 30%.
Well, all they need is 15%.
Can you let me finish the point, man?
But all they need to do a poll is 15%.
I cannot. I know we're both interrupting each other. I know that. But you're specifically going on these weird examples that you have not researched, and I'm trying to show you why the examples are wrong, and you go to a new thing.
Okay, well, continue with your point.
I just want to show you what we're doing. You go to 1996. You go to Shaq and Kobe. You tell me about the 79% poll. Then you tell me about the general manager's poll. Like, let me get you on something one at a time, man. Don't just jump all over the map like this.
All right. Just to finish your point.
Okay. They polled, like, if I remember correctly, I don't know the exact number, but it was like 28% of the players in the NBA. 28%. And of the
all they need is 15%.
I heard you the first
Okay.
time. Can I finish my point?
Sure.
Of that 28%, and I know all they need is 15%, man. You don't got to repeat yourself. Of that 28%, they weren't all even like the top level players. They were just asking anyone in the NBA. Now, the reason that's not reliable, you can tell me 15%, and I'd love to know why you're even saying that. But the reason that's not reliable, you thought 79% of the NBA thought Michael Jordan is number one, and you did not do your research. It's not 79%.
Oh, I didn't say that. No. I did not say that. I knew there was a poll. I knew there was a certain number of players in that poll.
But you had no idea it was 28%.
And I knew of those players that 79% voted.
Right. So what you should have said was, of the players they polled, 79% picked Jordan, not 79% of the NBA.
I did say that. I clarified after I originally said what I said.
You just did it right now. You didn't do it at the time.
No, I did it earlier too. The audience can go back and listen to it.
The audience can do that.
that.
Now I'm going to get you on that point too. Even if you did say that, let's say you really came out and said, of the players they polled, 79%. Why would you even do that? Because it doesn't prove anything, because most people in the NBA today weren't around old enough for Jordan. They're not experts on the NBA. They don't know all the NBA players, and they are not experts enough to rank players. But you assume they're reliable, just like you assume the stats guys and the analytics are reliable. Why are you assuming they're professionals, therefore they're reliable? Why do you do that?
Why do I assume what? What is reliable?
Is the phone bad?
Why do I? Yeah, I didn't hear what you said. Like, why did you assume what was reliable? Professionals?
The players in the NBA, even if you said, hey, it's the 79% of the players they polled, even if you said that, why would you even assume those players are reliable? Because, number one, they weren't old enough for Jordan. Some of them weren't even alive for Jordan. They're not experts.
So why do the opinions of...
Hold on. Since you didn't get the question, let me make sure you get it. They're not experts on the NBA, and they don't know enough about the NBA to rank players on who's one, who's two.
Who are experts?
I'm sorry?
Who are the experts?
Don't do that. You do that so many times, man. You go to a new topic every time I get you on a topic. Stick to one thing at a time, man.
I'm addressing what you said.
No, but I know. But first address what I said. If you know they're not experts, they're not reliable, they're not old enough.
They're players.
Why are you relying on them? It's just like your analytics department thing. You're saying they're professionals, they get paid, they're in the NBA, therefore they're reliable. So you're doing with the NBA players, they're pros, they're in the NBA, they voted.
They're creating stats to correlate with wins.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to get back into that right now. And I explained to you that that's not reliable. Again, you're counting on formulas that are not factually reliable. It's a random, made-up formula.
They correlate with wins. They've got to be reliable.
No, they don't, because the best do not.
Statistics that matter.
The best do not.
Statistics are measurements. The statistics that matter correlate with wins.
But the wins.
If a statistic doesn't correlate with wins, it's practically useless.
Yes, and I agree, it's practically useless. But the wins do not get the best. The best players does not always win. The ones who win MVP are not always the best. And again, I want to get back to the NBA topic. Why are you relying on that poll? Do you believe most players in the NBA today are experts and they're reliable and they're old enough for Jordan and they know all the players?
No.
So why would you use that as an example?
Because you're using why do we even bring up players' opinions anyway?
Look, if you don't know, if you don't know why you're doing,
you brought up Jerry West and Bill Russell and Elgin Baylor, right? You brought them up to explain why analytics are useless.
You can't understand the difference between.
So why are their opinions important?
You can't understand the difference between.
Why are their opinions more important than other people's opinions?
I heard you the first time. I'm answering your question.
Okay.
You can't understand the difference between Jerry West and some random guy in the NBA who's not even alive and not an expert for Jordan, wasn't around for
You've also brought up Bill Russell and Elgin Baylor and Oscar Robertson, whoever else you brought up.
To save time, I can't believe you would even ask me that. You can't tell the difference between one guy going by Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, and another guy going by some guy in the NBA?
Oh, I did address that. I addressed that they were all-time players 20 years ago. That said, Michael Jordan was the best ever. To respond to that.
No, you think they're the same thing? Comparison? You think that's the same comparison?
That you bringing up Bill Russell and Jerry West saying analytics are useless,
No,
and then
yeah. Listen,
that led to something. I don't know what led to what.
Just to make sure, just to make sure we don't complicate things. Let's just keep it simple. The players in the NBA today were not old enough for Jordan. Some of them weren't alive for Jordan. They're not experts. They're just players who came to the NBA. They're 20, 21 years old, and you're telling me a poll, hey, these guys picked Michael Jordan. What does that prove? It doesn't prove anything. Why are you relying on that poll? Why do you act like they're experts?
I'm not relying on that poll. I just brought up in response to you saying that players' opinions from 20 years ago aren't relevant.
No. Oh my God! If you bring up,
that's exactly what happened.
If you bring up, I know how it happened. I'm questioning why it's happening. If it happens that way, you have to bring up something that's equivalent or makes sense, but you're bringing up something that doesn't make sense. You keep telling me why you did it, and that's fine. But why is that your criteria? Why are you relying on a poll? In other words, if I said to you, the sky is blue, here's the fact it's blue, this scientist says it's blue, and you tell me what some guy in kindergarten thinks, it doesn't fit. You can't say, I brought up the kindergarten person because you brought up the scientist. It don't fit.
Do you think opinions of scientists are credible?
A scientist? Yes. The majority of scientists, yes.
So some of the people that create these advanced statistics are scientists.
Right, but we're not talking.
They have doctorate degrees.
Right, no. Creating a formula.
So they're not credible. So the statistics they create are credible then, right?
You're mixing in two things. Just because someone is a scientist doesn't mean everything they do is reliable. There's mad scientists out there, aren't there? Do you think all scientists are reliable?
Cumulation of scientists, yes.
Okay, so now you've changed it. You asked me about scientists. You didn't say cumulation scientists.
Well, there's a cumulation of statisticians.
That's not what you asked. Right? That's not what you asked me. So apply the same question to yourself.
Which question would that be?
Come on, man. Come on. You can't be serious, man. Come on.
Are statisticians reliable?
You asked me, are scientists reliable? First of all, that's a stupid question because you cannot expect every scientist in the world to be reliable. But fine, you asked the question, no problem.
So you can't expect every statistician to be reliable, but a group of scientists and a group of statisticians, well, their opinions are reliable, correct?
No, they're not. Because the majority don't think so, and I showed you how they're relying on formulas that are made up. They're going on things that are not factual. And anyway, it still doesn't answer the question, why are you going by an NBA poll of people who are 20, 21 years old?
Because you brought up
oh my God.
You said that the other poll was 20 years old.
Dude, but why is that your criteria? Come on, man.
It's not my criteria. We're not even talking about my criteria anymore.
Okay, no, listen. When you bring up something, it has to make sense. If you're just bringing it up just to have fun, it doesn't make sense then. You brought it up for a reason. Did you believe in what you brought up?
No.
Okay. Dude, come on.
I just said it in response to something to counter a point you made that it was the opinions of the other players were old.
That's kind of like, I don't know what's the proper word. If you're going to bring up something and you don't even believe in it, then why are you wasting my time like that? Don't do that.
All right.
See, so I've come to the conclusion, man, you're a prideful person. You just can't admit when you're wrong, and that's what it is. Because if you're going to
In terms of what? In terms of what?
Anybody that brings up a poll...
Statisticians are reliable. Is that what you're not trying to say? They're not reliable. Stats are reliable.
No, you're not understanding what I'm saying. Anybody that brings up a poll about 21-year-olds and 28 years old, NBA players, whoever, and then tells me later on, oh, I don't really believe it. That tells me you're a prideful person. You just can't admit when you're wrong. You're just bringing up anything.
I brought it up because you brought up said the one from 20 years ago was irrelevant, so I brought up, okay, let me bring up something that's more relevant.
You're being disingenuous. You're not having an educated debate. If you have a debate with someone and you say, I disagree with you, here are my reasons, you can't later tell me after we're going back and forth and draining each other, oh, you know what, I never really believed in it. I just did it because you did something. That's not an educated thing to do.
You said opinions from 20 years ago have changed and they don't matter. Well, I said here's a poll from recently.
You brought up 1996 and I questioned 1996. And then I said to you, even if you want to go by 1996, it doesn't make sense because they've changed their answers. And you've agreed. And then later on, you went to the players poll, the general manager poll, and you're telling me that Oscar Robertson, Jerry West are not that much of an expert compared to baseball?
Well, you said that Oscar Robertson and Jerry West don't believe in analytics. That's why we brought it.
And those were some examples. Most Hall of Famers.
So why are their opinions relevant?
Most Hall of Famers don't. Most owners don't.
Why does that matter? Who cares what Hall of Famers think?
Okay, so
I think half of them are dumb.
Okay, so if you don't go by the majority, now you have to be consistent. You have to not only say that you are more of an expert than NBA owners, NBA scouts, NBA Hall of Famers, and all the other NBA players. Not only do you have to say you are more of an expert than them, but you also have to...
I am not.
Okay, then don't tell me that they're not reliable.
But they aren't. Well, how do you know that the MVP vote is not reliable?
If they're not reliable...
You're saying that you told me earlier the MVP vote is not reliable.
Right,
so.
and I'm going to get to that too, by the way. But if they're not reliable, then you have to be consistent. You have to admit that you know more than them.
I do not, and neither do you.
Okay, I don't, but I'm not the one telling
you. You can't say that the statisticians and the stats they created aren't reliable because you don't know how they made them. You don't know what they took into account.
Well,
you don't know what the formula is.
One thing at a
time. You don't know the context they put into it.
One thing at a time. When
you don't know the context that these statisticians use.
I heard you, man. One thing at a time. When you say to me,
and I'm not sure if Jerry West knows either.
Wait, you really expect me to believe Jerry West has not even considered to understand what analytics are? You really expect me to... You're just making things up again.
Well, we don't know if he does or not.
No, he does. He said on video...
He knows what analytics are, but he doesn't know the context they put things in. Does he know that?
Dude, you are literally making things up again and again and again.
I am not. Does Jerry West know things?
If he comes on... Oh, my God. If he played in the NBA and he's a general manager...
He gave his opinion on analytics. That's all we know about them.
Hold on. If he plays in the NBA, you have to put two and two together. If he plays in the NBA and he works as a general manager and he has an analytics department and he's considered by most to be the best general manager in the history of the NBA, or at least 50%.
Who's most? Who is this most?
That's why I changed it, because I know you don't agree with that. Or whatever percentage, 60%, 70%, 40%, he's considered by many people to be the best general manager.
Michael Jordan, that's how we got to the Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is considered by many people to be the greatest ever.
I'll get to that. You were relying on 21-year-old players who were not even the majority of the NBA.
And players from 20 years ago and their opinions.
No, because we agreed they changed their opinions if that even happened in the first place.
Yes.
Again,
well, do you think all of them changed their opinions and only some or half? Which one do you think changed their opinions?
Yes, I put video after video after video after video of Hall of Famers not picking Jordan. You will never find the majority of Hall of Famers picking Jordan because either they're dead or there's no interview about them or they never talked about Jordan or they say things like, I pick Wilt, I pick Bill, there's no such thing, I pick somebody else. You're just making things up.
Well, are you saying I'm making things up?
Yes, man, you are.
For what? For players' opinions from 20 years ago, I'm making those up?
Oh my God. It's got to be the phone, man, because you don't sound like a dumb guy, and I don't want to start calling you dumb. It's got to be the phone. You're not understanding what I'm explaining, do you?
I don't know. What are you trying to say? Do you know how to explain what you're trying to say?
Okay, yeah,
I'm interpreting something completely different.
You definitely are, and I consider myself a very good person who explains things very loud and clear, man. I'm very good at not bragging. I'm not trying to be boast or arrogant or rude, but I know how to explain things. Thank God. If you look, pay attention to what you're doing. You don't know that most people think Jerry West is the best. You don't know that how good he is. You're saying what percentage? I'm sorry. You don't know how good people think he is, and then you tell me.
I know he's successful at what he does.
Right. Okay. And even that.
That's all I need to know.
And even that. You know he's successful, but you don't know that he goes by analytics. You don't know that he made a video where he explained why analytics are not good. You don't care that most owners don't go by analytics that much, most general managers, most experts, and most Hall of Famers, and you brush
How do you know that? How do you know that? You're just making things up.
I've explained this, but if you want, I'll do it again.
You're just making things up, man. What you're accusing me of, you're doing the same thing.
Saying it twice doesn't mean it's right. I've explained it, and I can do it again if you like. But before I do, I just want to show you something. You don't know. That's the problem. You have not done your research. And what you've done is you're saying, I don't know, but I'm going to conclude. That's my problem with you. Not that you don't know. It's okay if you don't know. But then you conclude, hey, just because it's Jerry West and Oscar Robertson and Bill Russell and whoever, I'm going to rely on a few guys who are professional analytic people like Ben Taylor and the Houston Rockets, and I'm going to rely on 21-year-old or whoever's in the NBA. You go by...
I'm not relying on those 21-year-olds, though.
Then you shouldn't bring it up then. Don't bring up things you
Okay,
don't
well,
believe.
why'd you bring up that? Okay, forget about it.
Yeah,
Never mind.
don't
I
bring
brought
it
it up as too. You know why I brought it up.
I know why you brought it up,
We already went through that.
that's not an
Why I brought that up.
and that's not an educated thing to do. Because if I make a point that you disagree on, tell me why you disagree based on what you believe or the facts are. Don't just bring something up and then waste our time and drain our energy for nothing when you don't even bring it up. When you bring it up, man, I thought you believed in that poll. You believed by that poll, but you don't even believe in it. Then why are we wasting our time in things you don't believe? So I want to know. When you say you go by, I think your point was you go by the majority. Okay. Are the majority experts or are the majority not experts?
Of what? To what?
I guess, when it comes to analytics or when it comes to who's number one or Michael Jordan, whatever you want to go by.
When it comes to analytics?
I'll say it again.
When it comes to what? Like the majority when it comes to what?
Okay, do you believe that because the majority of players pick Michael Jordan or the majority of Hall of Famers pick Michael Jordan, that therefore Michael Jordan is number one?
I don't believe that, no.
Okay. So do you go by the majority or the minority?
I go by what I believe.
Okay, so that's not an educated thing to do. You can't just go by whatever you want.
Well, I go by what I believe, which is based on statistics.
Right. But you don't. You go by formulas of statistics. That's not the same thing.
Those are statistics.
Formulas of a statistic. That is not the same
it's
thing.
just statistics.
Right. A statistic this is what a player...
Advanced statistics.
Right. But it's a formula that's not based on facts always. It's not all factual.
It's all stats.
It's not.
It's all measurements.
No, it's... There you go. There you go. No, now you got it right. It's not just all stats. You added that other word, measurements. Measurements are people making up their own formulas. It's not a factual thing.
How are measurements not factual?
Because when they vote for the MVP, they're not voting on fact. It's not reliable.
They're just using their own opinion, though.
Right,
They're not basing.
Stats.
The measurements aren't making the decision.
Right, and their opinion is not a factual thing. An opinion is an opinion. You cannot take an opinion and throw it into a formula of numbers and then conclude it's facts.
Well, measurements are... I'm just looking at statistics and measurements.
No, you're
and finding which are the best ones to use.
Now we're going in a circle. I know you go by statistics. That part is fine with me, okay? Take that one out. The other part is the measurement. That's the one that I've been trying to understand why you're doing this over and over.
Well, statistics are measurements.
Right. But the statistics that you're going by have a form of a measurement that is not factual. It's not a statistic. It's an opinion. It's voting.
Wait. The statistics I use aren't voted on. They're just formulas.
It's
an accumulation of statistics put into a formula.
The formula has a criteria.
The formulas, the different statistics, they use different formulas.
And people who vote for awards. That's not factual.
But what's factual that they voted for the award and the award exists?
You're changing the topic again. We know what they're doing. We know we know what's happening. We know the formula.
Yes.
Now the question is the formula reliable?
What formula are you referring to? The formulas that make up player efficiency rating, win shares per 48, plus minus value over replacement,
I'm clearly telling
etc., etc.
I'm clearly telling you over and over and over and over, the people who vote for the players, that part is not reliable. The voting. Why are you not getting that?
So elite play. We're talking about, I use MVP as a measurement of elite play. All right.
This got to be a joke, man. I'm clearly telling you literally same thing over and over, and you keep not getting it. The formula.
Well, you keep not getting that statistics are important.
When did I ever say
particularly advanced statistics, which factor in traditional?
Now you're making things up. I clearly said to you a little while ago, we know stats are fine. I don't have the exact words. Put stats to the side. Remember I said that? I was telling you basically stats are fine. I don't have the exact
put stats
words.
to the side. Okay, MVPs are irrelevant. Okay.
So if we know stats are fine, don't say to me I'm putting to the side stats. I'm accepting stats. I'm the one that tells you I go by traditional stats.
What do you accept? What do you accept? What don't you accept?
Okay, so I go by stats. Now,
Okay, you go by stats.
I don't accept random people voting for whoever they want to vote for. That is not a factual thing. I'm going to guess, man, you're being prideful. You just don't want to admit that you're cornered and you can't get out of it. That's got to be the thing, man. It's either that or you're...
No, I'm just explaining to you and there's people that don't care about stats. They care more about accolades.
Why are you telling me this? What does it have to do with anything? Who cares what some people go by stats or not? The point is, we're talking about you going by...
Well, I'm explaining to them that statistics, like the advanced statistics, correlate with the MVPs they like so much.
But we're not talking about what stupid people do. People do all sorts of things. What does that have to do with anything?
People in the audience might be stupid.
No. Some of them are, yes. Some of them are stupid, yes. So I'm asking you...
I'm explaining to them, you and them, that there's advanced statistics that correlate with the MVPs they may or may not like so much.
But why are you telling me this? Why are you telling... We know what you're saying.
To establish the relevance of these statistics.
Right, but now we're questioning that relevance. Let's get past why it's happening and who's doing it.
Okay, so what should we use instead of MVP?
I can't believe you've asked... Oh, okay. So we can do that. But why do you
what should we use as a measurement for elite play?
I'll get to that. But first, do you agree that we should not use MVPs?
Yes.
Okay. Are you just saying that?
So we should not take it. We should not take it as end all be all. But
okay.
It is somewhat important.
No. Don't do that. You said yes, and then you said we should not take it as end all be all.
We'll stick with yes. We'll stick with yes.
Okay. Now, don't tell me an hour later I didn't really mean it. Do you actually mean it?
MVPs are. I don't believe that they're irrelevant. I don't personally believe that they're irrelevant, but.
Okay, so you're still taking it into consideration. Okay, let's try this again, man. I'm trying really hard here, man, okay? I'm trying. They're voting. They're giving their opinion on who they're picking. Yeah. It could be on any...
Statistics correlate with their opinion.
Right.
Statistics correlate with their opinion.
But it's not the only thing they're doing. Why are you not getting this? Do you know how voting happens in the NBA? There are tons of reasons why they vote for certain players.
They have first place, second place. Who do I think is first? Who do I think is second? Who do I think is
right? But
third,
you know how?
etc.
But you don't know why they're doing it. I know how the system works. Okay, when they have people who vote, there are numbers of things. For example, yes, they use traditional stats. I don't think they use analytics. I guess you do, you don't. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But
maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe they look at traditional stats, maybe they don't.
I know most of them don't. You, for some reason, don't know that.
How do you know most of them don't? Explain to me.
I'll tell you why.
Explain to the audience.
I'll tell you why. Because I'll tell you why. Saying it 3 times doesn't change anything. I'll tell you why. There have been tons of articles on people who vote. There's only a certain number. It's not like they have 1,000 people every year. They have a certain number of people. Of those number of people, some of them are the same people year by year by year. Of those people who are there, a lot of them are old timers. And old timers do not go by analytics based on what they say in interviews and articles. There was
also... They go by traditional statistics, do they not?
Say it again?
Did they go by traditional statistics?
Yes.
Well, advanced statistics factor in traditional statistics.
This is a really low thing that you're doing. You are literally, every time you go on that, you weasel your way out.
That's the case. If that wasn't true, I wouldn't bring it up.
You are weaseling your way out and saying, well, technically it's analytics. You know what I mean. They don't go by per 36, win share, and all those things. Analyzing a skill set of a player is not the same thing as win share and per 36 and all those other weird things. You're mixing two things.
When they look at traditional statistics, and looking at traditional statistics isn't analyzing a skill set.
Right. Well, actually, no, it is. Actually, you're wrong. It is.
Well, it goes into the measurement aspect of it, but it's not analyzing a skill set.
Well, no, it goes into the measurement, which is analyzing a skill set.
Well, for analyzing scoring ability, for example, or spacing,
you always go to scoring first for some
or finishing.
No, I know you're going to other things now, but you always go to scoring first for someone, which is fine. But I mean, anything.
I don't. I'm just because it's easy. It's the first one that comes up.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I apologize. Fair enough.
And in my opinion, there's specific skill sets in the NBA. There's a player's ability analytics to create space, a player's ability to score in isolation, to score independently.
Hold on. I've never heard of anyone have a top thing like player creating space. The top things are always points, rebounds, assists, steals, like that, not creating space. And the reason you did that...
how a player creates space,
I know why you did that. I'm not stupid. And you've done this before. The reason you throw in points, which is a traditional, and then you go to create space. You do that because...
Well, there's off-ball play and there's on-ball play and there's, off and on-ball play.
I know that. But when people go by statistics, there's no on-ball, off-ball. No one does that.
Well, there are off-ball, on-ball, off-ball
Nobody goes by that, okay? And you know what?
Really? Who's nobody?
Okay, I apologize. I stand corrected. I stand corrected. You're right.
There's people that do. I do.
If someone says to you, I stand corrected, why do you repeat yourself?
All right. I know.
Okay. It's okay. For some reason, you've done this before. You have to repeat yourself over and over, man. Like, we're both drained, and there's a time where we've been here for so long. Come on, man. Let's get to it. Most people don't go by on ball and off ball. Okay, would you agree with that?
Well, when people that take the eye test into consideration do somewhat,
but they don't measure,
especially former players and people that played growing up. They take that stuff into account.
Yeah, what they'll say is, "Oh man, Allen Iverson, look how he creates space with his crossover. Oh man, look how Larry Bird backs it up and puts a step back jumper." They'll do that, but they don't do what you do, which is conclude this is number one, this is number two, this is number three based on the stats. And by the way, those stats that they do on ball and off ball, it's like the CompuBox stats in boxing. It's a stat, but it's not reliable because
it's tracked. Yeah, it's tracked.
It's someone tracking it. It's not reliable. Even the traditional stats are not reliable. Stat keeping in the NBA, and I know this for a fact, is not 100% reliable because it's open to interpretation, and it's some college kid who's on an internship who just says, okay, let's give this guy a point, let's give this guy a rebound. And there's articles written of how sometimes they give someone certain stats that they shouldn't have done, but they did it because they like the player. Okay, so if traditional stats are hard to do and they're not reliable, analytics are even more harder and they're less reliable because it's more detailed, fine things. So in other words, if you can't rely 100% on steals, assists, blocks, and rebounds, don't tell me you can rely even more on off ball, on ball. It gets even harder, man. It's some guy doing it and then telling you it's true and you accept it because they're pros. Hello?
Hello? Yep, my phone's got 13% left. I should get my charger.
Okay, no problem. You want to wrap it up then?
Well, we haven't even got to what I wanted to go over, pretty much.
But to be honest, but even if we did, would it matter? Obviously, I don't accept.
No, we'd probably just be going in circles. We'd probably be doing this for...
I definitely don't.
There were two things I wanted to go over. We'd probably spend 2 hours on each thing.
But actually, it wouldn't make a difference because I think I even told you this before. Like, the stats won't make a difference because there's no stat that proves Jordan is number one. And anyway, even if you say there is, because I think you said that in the pre-interview, I don't go by analytics. You know that, man. It wouldn't have made a difference.
What do you go by? Let's explain your criteria. Sure. Let's put together create a criteria.
Sure.
Let's me and you create a criteria.
Sure. You should know this, actually. And this is me being consistent. I don't rank players, man. There's no such thing.
Okay.
As you said, it's not a factual thing.
But if just for argument, so not for argument.
I got you.
For me, if me and you were to rank players, what would our criteria be?
Yeah, I got you. And actually, I've answered this more than once.
We should have just started with this.
No, you've asked me this a million times, remember? And I've answered this. If I go by traditional stats, and I don't know if I explained this, and I think I brought it up, but I didn't really get into detail. And then if you want records, everything else is literally just making up your own random criteria.
But you just said traditional stats and like on-ball, off-ball stats just made by someone doing tracking,
right.
And that tracking is flawed.
Right, and I also said to you I don't rank players, and there's no such thing. I have my people who I think you should start a team with. There's no such thing as number one, but if you have to rank players, and I explained, when you asked me what do we use, I've answered this more than once. You go by statistics, and then if you want, you go by records. I didn't really get into that, but I brought that up. You go by records then. Now, I know you're going to say, well, stats are not reliable. That's true. They're not 100% reliable. I agree with you, man. Okay, stats can be misleading. There are different variables. Certain people will do better depending on their system, their team, who their coach is, what the era is, etc. But it's the closest thing to being the most reliable. And you have to understand something else about stats. Remember what stats are. It's an evaluation and taking an average and taking totals. So even though stats are not reliable 100%, it doesn't matter because you're averaging things out over 82 games, over a few seasons, over a career, or in total. So they are reliable based on average and totals.
So the advanced stats are reliable too then?
Not based on average and totals. The problem with analytics.
If we had to, that would be the way we would do it, correct?
No, of course not, Craig. You know I don't. You know most owners. Well, you don't know now. You've changed your answer on this, by the way. How come sometimes it seems like you agree that most Hall of Famers and players don't because they don't know about it or whatever? But then you're like, I don't know if they do. But then you're like, I think they do to a certain degree, like middle or high.
Well, significant number do, significant number don't.
Okay, do most do or most don't?
For what?
When it comes to analytics and
for anything, for analytics or who's the greatest or anything like that?
When it comes to analytics, we know analytics play a role. We know it's there. We know it's somewhat reliable. Now we're trying to figure out, I already know the answer, but you don't agree. Do you think they go by most analytics and it's most people who go by analytics? And it's at a high percentage, high on the list.
Well, if people knew more about analytics, more people would use analytics.
You're changing it again. You always do.
No, I'm not changing anything. I'm just giving my opinion.
You're dodging.
More people knew about analytics, more people would use analytics.
You're dodging. You've done this before. I asked you a question and you go to a different thing. Let's go one at a time. Do you believe?
Right.
Do you believe most Hall of Famers go by analytics?
No.
Okay. Do you believe most owners go by analytics?
I don't know enough to answer that.
Okay. Do you believe most scouts go by analytics?
I don't know enough to answer that, but if I had to guess, it would be
okay.
a significant number.
Okay, fair enough. Do you believe most fans go by analytics?
I don't believe most fans do, no.
Okay, so at least let's establish what we got here. You don't believe most Hall of Famers do. You're not sure about the owners. You're not sure about the scouts. And you don't think the fans do, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so far, if you don't know, then that means it's possible most do or it's possible most don't, correct?
Correct.
Okay, if it's possible most don't, that's a possibility, why would you rely on something that possibly most don't?
That possibly most don't?
Yes.
Because it's the best measurements we have.
Okay, if it's the best, then why wouldn't most experts rely on it?
Because they don't know. Well,
Okay.
what experts are we talking about?
There's only, come on, man, just any experts in general.
Well, some GMs use it, so they know about it.
Okay, you just said you don't know if they do.
Well, the
I'm
number do.
sorry, no, I didn't ask you about GM. I'm sorry.
I said I don't know if they do or not, but I know
I made a mistake. I didn't even ask you about GMs right now. I said owners, scouts, Hall of Famers,
I
and players.
assume that was part of owners was a part of GMs.
Fair enough, yeah. In the past, you did acknowledge, I think, about GMs not. But fine, fair enough. You're saying now you're not sure. You're not even sure if most do, right?
Yeah, I know a number do, but I'm not sure if it's most or...
Okay, yeah. Even of that number that do,
Okay.
do you think of that small percentage that you know about, do you think it's high on the list, in the middle, on the lower end, or you don't know?
Probably somewhere in the middle. That's why I don't know.
But you don't know. It's not probably. Either you know or you don't.
I don't know, but if I had to guess, it'd be somewhere in the middle.
Okay, so you don't know. There's no reason to guess.
Yes.
Just guessing is just pointless. You don't know. So if you, I'm guessing it's fine if
I
somebody
know
asks
it's
you to
not.
guess.
I know it's not a lot. What you say it isn't a lot.
It's not a lot.
That's where I have confusion. You say a lot, don't.
No. You said you know it's not a lot. I agree. It's not a lot.
Okay.
No.
But you say it's on the lower end. I don't agree it's on the lower end.
No. If just use common sense. If you know a lot, people don't use it, then there's no reason to believe.
I know a number of people don't use it. I don't know if it's a lot. I know a number of people don't. It could be half don't use it.
Okay, so you don't agree it's not a lot. Okay, fine. So when it comes to, I really think you should probably just reconsider what you believe and don't believe, and then go from there.
I already established at the beginning that I don't really...
Throughout the phone call, you've given a little bit different. Lately, you've been pretty solid in what you believe, but in the beginning, you kind of were like... in the beginning, you kind of were
put
like...
a lot of stock into statistics, yes.
In the beginning, you were kind of like acting like you agree that most don't use it, because you made it seem like because they don't know about it. That was the narrative.
Well, we don't know about it.
Right. But now you're making it seem like you're not sure, and if you had to guess, some of these examples they do, some of them don't. So you've kind of changed it.
I think I've been pretty consistent throughout.
Okay, well, we'll let the obviously we disagree on that too now. So we'll let the audience decide.
Okay.
I'll put the tape up there. We'll find out what you said in the beginning. Then I remember it then.
All right.
All right. So So you agree that at least only a few use it, right? You don't have any proof that the majority use it. You have no proof of
I
this.
do not. Neither do you that they don't.
I do. I do have proof.
Well, give me the proof then.
Okay. So far, of all the NBA Hall of Famers who've been interviewed, and they've been a lot, tons, okay? Not the ones who are dead.
Well, we're talking about owners and GMs.
Okay, so we can get to one thing at a time. I asked you Hall of Famers. Didn't I ask you Hall of Famers?
Well, you gave me 4 different things. You gave me Hall of Famers, you gave me owners, GMs, you gave me scouts.
No. I gave you 4, and one of the 4 were Hall of Famers.
Yes.
Okay, so
and I don't think they use it.
Okay, you just
because I think they use their eyes mostly. I don't think they care about statistics.
You just made the point right now. Why am I bringing up Hall of Famers? You were making that point. Now you're telling me you agree that we did bring up Hall of Famers.
I don't think Hall of Famers look at analytics now.
Okay, no. Just now you were questioning why I'm bringing up Hall of Famers. Remember? You were saying, why are you bringing up Hall of Famers? That was like you were making the point that wasn't one of the 4 categories. Yes. But now you're acknowledging, yeah, I did bring up Hall of Famers.
You did bring up Hall of Famers, yes.
So why were you questioning why I'm bringing them up?
Because why does their opinion matter?
No. That's not what you did before. You were like, why are you bringing it up? Because that wasn't the 4 categories, the 4 examples. And why?
I wasn't. No, I just was wondering why you're bringing them up. Because why is their opinion relevant?
Hall of Famers are not relevant.
Because we were talking about owners and GMs. That's why.
Hall of Famers are not relevant, and it comes to knowledge of the NBA.
Oh, when it comes to like evaluating skill sets and stuff, they are.
Okay, so then they're reliable for evaluations.
Not all of them. Some of them don't know what they're talking about.
There you go again doing that. There you go again. You do that so many times. I make a point to you and you kind of change it to a different thing. No one ever said to you all of them are reliable.
Okay.
We're talking about Hall of Famers as a general thing. Why do you always go back to like random examples of Ben Taylor, Houston Rockets, not all Hall of Famers, and then 1996? You cherry pick.
Well, they have knowledgeable opinions.
Right.
I'm using specific examples of knowledgeable people, just like you're using Jerry West.
Right. But that's not the only example. I can give you more names. I stopped at Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson to save time, but I can keep going and I just waste your time like that.
They played so long ago, they wouldn't care about statistics. You know what I mean?
You're just making things up again. Jerry West is in the league today.
Oh yeah, he would care because he's
Elgin Baylor was working in the Clippers front office up until 2000s. There are other people who have been advisors in the NBA. I can give you, do I really have to give you examples of which older players are still working for recent times in the NBA?
Don't. I have an idea.
So why would you make the point that they played so long ago like that changes something?
Well, it doesn't. You're right.
Okay. Oh, finally. Oh, I feel better. It's nice when you acknowledge something, man. It doesn't happen all the time, man. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hall of Famers are not... Hall of Famers are they?
I got about 10% left, by the way.
Do you have to go? Do you have to go?
I'm just letting you know it could pay off.
No, you know what? Okay, it's fine. It's 10% anyway. Since your phone's about to die anyway, let's just wrap it up. You want to wrap it up?
Sure. We haven't really got to the... Are you... No, never mind.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. You've been very nice, very respectful, very pleasant. I want to let the audience know.
I just didn't get to what I wanted to talk about.
This guy has been a good, respectful guy. But we went through that, man. You don't even have to worry about that because remember I told you before in the pre-interview, or not today, the other day, that if you ever feel like you didn't get your points and you didn't get enough time, depending on how things go, you can come on in the future. Remember? And then also, I also explained to you, it doesn't matter if you get to those points because it wouldn't have made a difference, man. I don't go by analytics. I'm not going to go by that stuff, man. It's just
all right.
It's not. You're not going to agree with me. It's not factual and reliable. It's very misleading sometimes. Not all analytics are bad. Okay, analytics has a place, as Steve Kerr has said. Steve Kerr is an expert. He didn't play 90 years ago, man. He's an expert in the.
I think we could have had this conversation after I just explained everything I wanted to talk about.
mean, but what would be the point? It's just telling me why. For me, it's just like you're just
I
wasting
know.
time.
You did it as I was doing it, and you kind of interjected. I thought you were going to let me explain what I wanted to explain.
No. But I asked you. Remember the thing I asked you? Can I interject? Can I ask you follow up? You seemed open to it.
Yeah, but I said we could do take turns. Yes.
No. You did say.
But
that.
I had more to say before you interjected. You know what I mean?
But that's not fair. I know we talked about that, but in the beginning of this phone call, I asked you, can I don't have the exact words, the exact quote, but I asked you, can I ask you a question? Can I, follow up to you? And you gave me permission. And then after that.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and after that, it seemed like you were open to a give and take. So I had no reason to think you didn't like it. If you didn't like it, you should have told me, hey, I don't like it.
I just wanted to get across what I had to get across. I just did a bunch of research, and I didn't get the chance to explain that research or show that research. So I was kind of disappointed.
I know, I understand, but if it was that, you're just telling me this now like you're disappointed. You should have told me earlier, hey, I don't want to do anything else. I'm not interested. I just want to take turns. Let me get to something else then. You had a give and take. I wasn't talking to myself.
I know, but we've been going back and forth on like my first statements for like 2 hours.
Right.
I'm over that.
Right. No, you're doing it too. So I mean, it's
I know.
I don't understand why you're acting like you're disappointed. Like it kind of puts it
I know.
on me. You're doing it too. We're both doing it.
I know we are.
Yeah, no. If you're giving me permission to follow up to, and you're going back and forth, and we're both interrupting, we're both following up, then you can't like make it seem like it's on me and it's not on you. We're both.
I know.
Actually, you know what?
I agree with that.
It's actually no one's fault. We're both just going over stuff. We're having a give and take, follow ups, and we're going over details. And again, man, it wouldn't have made a difference if you did go through that stuff. Again, I've explained this before. It wouldn't have made a difference because I don't go by analytics. They're not reliable. They're not factual.
I do. So I should have explained why.
But I'm saying, even if you explain it, it wouldn't have made a difference to me. It would have made no difference. Like, it
might have made a difference to the listener, though.
But
you know what I mean?
I mean, but if that's the point, if you want to go by that far, I'm sure a lot of Jordan fans just want that Jordan's number one. So you want to make them happy, just like agree Jordan's number one?
There would be people on the fence that might have not known some of the things I was going to bring up.
Okay, but then I can flip that around you. There might be people on the fence who are like, why are we going to all these analytical stuff when they're not reliable then? I mean, it comes.
Yeah, that's true. That is true too.
It works both ways.
But we don't know that they're not, but they are reliable in the sense that they correlate with elite play, which is
and you say,
play that translates to winning.
So you say those things, and I say the opposite, that they're not reliable, they're misleading, they can make it hard things worse for a team.
But they translate to winning. This has been proven that these stats translate to winning.
And they're not factual. They have not proven to lead to winning. So if you say to me, some people agree...
There are strong correlations, they lead to winning.
No, and I've explained to you, voting for MVP is not a strong correlation. It's just linking something...
Well, MVPs are based mostly on wins, right? They usually pick the best player on the best team most of the time, correct?
But most of the time is not a factual thing. You are just cherry picking what you want to go by. And the point I'm trying to make to you is, it doesn't matter if you agree or not, because if you have a side and I have a side and you're explaining your side, I'm explaining my side, then I don't understand why you're like, well, hey, I want to get something else. You're explaining your side, you're going over things, you're going over details.
Yes.
I mean, unless you want me to disagree with you and give you a pass. I mean,
no, that's okay.
Yeah, no, you brought up some points about analytics. You followed up and you explained some details on it, man. One of the reasons we're going back and forth like this is because you're not getting certain things. Like when you say factual leads to winning, these are not facts. You're just making things up.
Oh, there's correlations to winning, correct?
It's either a fact.
Is correlation to winning important?
It's either a fact.
Is that not important? Is that not important to you that a stat correlates with winning?
I'll get to that, but that's not the topic right now. Is it a fact or it's not a fact?
Well, it's important.
You're doing it again.
It's important. No, that's all I care about. I don't care if it's a fact or not. It's important.
You say you don't care it's a fact, but you were basically explaining a little while ago that it's factual, it's winning. It leads to winning, it's factual.
It leads to winning, it's important.
Is it a fact?
I don't know if it's a fact or not. I just know it's important.
Then if you don't know it's a fact, then there's no reason for you to even act like it's a fact and go with these things.
Well, I know it's important, so I'm acting like it's important.
Okay, then that's a totally different thing, okay? You cannot, if you explain something as a fact, and it's winning, and it's factual, it leads to winning, and then you go, I don't know, but it's important, and it leads to it, I'm not sure, come on, man. It's got a factor or not.
Okay. Well, in the beginning, I said, now you might ask, someone listening might ask, why are these statistics important? And I said they're important because they correlate with winning and winning MVPs and being named All-Pro et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And is all that a fact?
And you focused on MVPs, and we went into a 2-hour tangent.
No, don't do that again. You cannot tell. Why do you always go all over the map like that? You agree with me, and then you don't agree with me.
I think we're on the same page.
No, we're not on the same page. When you say I focused on something, we went into 2 hours, you put it on me like it's my fault. I didn't focus on it.
I put it on you like it's your fault.
I'll tell you why you did. When you say, well, it's this, and you focus on that thing, and we've been on for 2 hours, that's misleading and unfair and disrespectful. Not
I understand that.
The reason is, well, you say you understand that, but I'm not going to buy that now.
You keep asking me why I'm using MVPs. Well, why wouldn't I use MVPs?
Wait, hold on.
Because they're not trustworthy.
But now we're changing the topic again. Let's go on this one now. I'm on something else right now. If you make a point, and I don't agree with that point, and then you follow up, and then I follow up. We're both doing it. We're going over something. We're disagreeing. You can't just all of a sudden label that thing as, well, you went on that point about MVP and we were doing it for 2 hours like it's my fault. It's you making a point, and you're.
I also brought up wins and all NBA. The winning was the biggest factor in that statement.
Okay, but am I supposed to go by what you want to go by? Can I address something? I have to address something.
You could address something, yes.
Okay, so I addressed something. That's the part I addressed. And I'm pretty sure I addressed other things too. No, not pretty sure. I did address other things. Now, when I addressed that part, you are following up to that part yourself. So we're both disagreeing, and you're going over details.
Yes, I agree with your statement.
But it's not fair. But then it's not fair to act like, well, you went on that MVP point. We've been talking about it for 2 hours, like it's my fault. Like, where's your responsibility in this? And then.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's like, I don't agree with you, man. I don't agree on that MVP thing, and you don't agree either. You are following up on that point yourself. Then
the main thing was the wins.
Okay.
The MVPs were basically
So what should I do? Just, I don't know what your main thing is and your side note thing is.
You're right. You don't know.
Yeah, so I'm just going by what you explained. You explained it. I followed up. You followed up. You've gone into detail then. So
I should have just been more on topic.
Okay, so should I have?
I should have just stayed with the wins.
Right, but
and how I think it's important.
And even if I knew it was your main point, even if I did, I don't agree with that point. Okay, so I'm following up to it. You're following up yourself, and you're going into detail about it. Then. All right. Okay. So again, is it a factual thing or it's not a factual thing?
I don't care as long as it's important, and I know it's important.
Facts don't matter to you?
Importance it matters to me.
No, facts don't matter to you? Come on, man.
Facts matter.
Okay, if you're the guy who's talking about statistics and reliability, I know I'm talking about statistics too, but if you say analytics are more reliable, you're going by facts, stats. So now I'm asking you if it's a fact, and you're like, well, I don't care about that. I go by importance then.
Well, yes.
You can't have it both ways. You got to be consistent then.
Well, advanced statistics are more reliable than regular statistics.
Okay. I'm asking you if those things are facts.
Well,
they're not. The answer is no. They're not. The answer is no.
Regular statistics don't have as high as a correlation as advanced statistics do to winning games.
Okay, I'll change the question. On that note, is that a fact?
Yes. It's a fact that traditional statistics don't have as strong as a correlation as advanced statistics to winning games. Yes, it's a fact.
Oh, that's a fact.
Yes.
Okay, so anything that's a fact should easily be proven. Can you point to me, since you found that 1990...
The correlation is the proof. The correlation is the proof.
That's not...
It's a stronger correlation, therefore it's stronger.
Telling me is not proof. Show me the...
If it's a stronger correlation, it's more reliable. That's how statistics work.
That's not how you prove your case in court. You don't tell the judge the correlation is a proof. You show your evidence on the proof. Where is the proof that that is more of a fact, or that is a fact?
What do you mean, where is the proof? What would you look for?
Oh, I'm saying you're the one that... I don't think it's a fact. I know it's... In fact, I know it's not a fact. I know it's not, but you believe it is.
I know it's important. Okay. That's all I know.
You're changing it again. You're doing it again. And you've done this before, man. I'm surprised you keep doing this.
It's important. It's all important. Statistics, advanced analytics are important, and they're more reliable than traditional statistics.
And I disagree with this important, but you think it's important. That's fine. That's fine. Now, it doesn't matter. Because instead of debating opinions, let's debate what's a fact. Is it a fact that it's more reliable?
Yes, because there's a higher correlation.
Prove it.
Prove that there's a higher correlation.
prove that it's a fact that there's a high correlation.
Prove that there's a high correlation?
Prove that it's
To winning?
a fact that has more of a high correlation to winning, or that it's more reliable.
It's more... The fact that it has a higher correlation to winning means it's more reliable in and of itself.
Prove it. You
And
can't
that
just
in and of itself is the fact.
you can't just say it as if it's a fact. You have to prove it.
The correlation is the proof.
Dude, come on, man. This is a joke. Okay, I'm clearly
No, it's
getting.
not.
No, this
I'm
is a
dead
joke.
serious.
No,
The correlation is the proof that it's
listen.
more reliable, that advanced statistics are more reliable than traditional ones.
Show me the scientific paper from these scientists that show you that analytics is factually more reliable than traditional statistics.
Advanced statistics, you could look that up for yourself. The audience can look that up for themselves.
Okay, so then you don't. Okay, so then you don't have an
I don't
answer.
have it on me. If I came back, I'd probably have that on me.
No.
But you'd probably find something to disagree with.
I don't dispute facts. I dispute people who think something is a fact
Well,
when it's not a
your
fact.
correlations are, you asked me, how is that reliable? I said it's reliable because there's a stronger correlation. That means it's reliable.
And you know I disagree with that. So now prove.
Why do you
that
disagree with that? Have you ever taken a statistics course?
First of all,
Have you taken a statistics course? So you're familiar with statistics?
you're repeating yourself.
Have you read
You're repeating yourself.
papers on statistics?
You're repeating yourself. And the reason I didn't answer is because you asked me another question before that. Don't do that thing where you repeat yourself and ask different questions one at a time. The first thing was, how do I know it's not reliable? The reason I know it's not reliable was because A, they weren't using it before and it worked. B, they could take it out now and it'll still work. You'll still get LeBron James and Steph Curry and Golden State Warriors or whoever. C, there's no study that proves that advanced statistics are factually more reliable than stats and traditional stats. And D, most people in the NBA who are experts don't use it. Now, you're going to disagree with me and that's fine. All you have to do, you have the easier job. You don't have to go A, B, C, D. You just have to show the paperwork that proves analytics are factually more reliable than traditional stats. That's all you have to do.
All right. And I don't have that on me as of this time.
You will never have that, man. I can guarantee you. I will bet you
People
money.
have done research on it, and
I will
the correlation is the proof.
I've done research myself.
If the objective of the game is to win, and that one stat has a higher correlation than the other stat to winning, then that statistic is more reliable and more important.
Right. That's your conclusion. And that's what you believe, but you cannot prove it.
Well, over time, that can be proven.
Okay, over time it cannot be
Some of these
proven.
statistics are available for
You can
50
keep
plus
saying
years.
that you can say anything you want. Over time it will be proven. I'll find the paper. I don't have it. I'm not sure. There's
Over
no
time, we don't know now, but there's been 50 years of data. That's important. That's relevant. That's proof.
No, I'll tell you why it's not. I'll tell you why it's not. Because as 50 years from now, what you're going to do is you're going to have circumstantial evidence. You'll say, look, the analytics are in the department. These teams are winning. 2 + 2 = 4.
Okay.
And that's not proof. It's like you might as well start saying things like, hey, this guy always had a good day on Wednesday. But look, in the last 11 days, he wore a blue shirt on Wednesday. Therefore, it's the blue shirt that gave him a good day on Wednesday.
That's the same thing, though.
That is because analytics weren't used all the time. And now when you say 50 years from now it's going to be proof, no, it won't be proven because...
It's been around already for 50 years.
No, it's not. No, come on, not this again, dude.
Not the idea of analytics, but, the analytics go back that far.
When we say...
And we can look at those.
When we say analytics, you know what I mean, okay?
Yeah, advanced stats, and there were advanced stats that go back to 1952.
You're being very misleading and disingenuous when you do that routine about, well, it's technically the same thing. It's not the same thing as what it's meant today. When someone analyzes ball players in the past, they went by traditional stats and then, of course, the skills on the court. You're saying that's analytics. It's not the same thing. Analytics today is win share, per 36, PER, and all these kind of things, formulas they put together. They weren't doing that. And those same people will tell you they're not doing that. They'll tell you straight up they're not doing that.
Okay, but they're looking at advanced statistics.
Okay, all right, man, you're just ignoring what I'm saying.
I'm not.
No, I'm saying,
if
if I say to you, it's not the same thing, and those people will tell you they're not doing that, you can't say, I'm not ignoring you, and then say, yeah, they're doing those things.
advanced statistics are more reliable than traditional statistics. That is the entire point.
And my point is,
statisticians would agree with me. Statisticians would agree with me.
No, some.
I know that for a fact.
No,
I know that.
Okay,
they would agree
you know
with
what?
me.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm not even going to say you're making things up. I'm not going to say some will agree with you. I'm not going to say who agrees with you. Just prove it to me.
The vast majority would agree with me, just like you're saying the vast majority of whatever doesn't do whatever.
No, I'm just going to say prove it. Prove it.
All right, you prove it too.
Okay, that's not how proof.
That they're not reliable.
No, for a guy who goes by stats, you are not being factual. When someone has to make the case for something, you don't put the.
You go by traditional stats. Those are flawed.
No, listen, don't change it again. When
you go by traditional stats.
You're repeating yourself now. When someone says to me, you have to prove it. I don't have to prove it. I'm not making the case. You have to prove it.
Yes, and I'm using statistics to prove it.
So don't say to me, I have to prove it. You have to prove it.
Yes, and I'm using statistics as the...
just telling me these things on the phone don't prove anything, man. Prove it.
With what?
Oh, dude, that's not my problem. You got the facts. You're telling me something is a fact. Prove it.
The correlation.
Oh my God, dude.
The objective of the game is to win.
You are a prideful. You are a prideful person. You cannot admit when you're wrong. You are a prideful.
Wrong in terms of what?
Any lawyer, defense attorney, or prosecutor, or court of law, or scientist, or statistician, or accountant, or taxman, any expert will tell you, when you have some analysis, you cannot just give a hypothesis and then say, here's my conclusion. You have to be able to prove it. You can't keep telling me on the phone the correlation. The statisticians all agree with me. You have to prove it. Prove these things.
You're asking me if advanced statistics are more reliable than traditional statistics. And I say advanced statistics have a stronger correlation to win.
I'm not even doing that anymore because I know what happens when we go in a circle. So now I'm doing something else. You believe what you believe. That's fine. Now you have to prove it. When you say to me on the phone,
I believe the correlation makes
that's fine. That's fine that you believe it. That's wonderful. Now, when you say to me, oh, most statisticians will agree with me, and it's a fact. Now you have to prove it. Prove these things.
All right. Well, how many statisticians do you want?
Listen. When you give a fact on something, there's no such thing on how many. It's a fact is a fact. Period. There's no such thing as how many and this and that.
You're right. No, you're right about that. You're right about that.
Okay. So can you prove it?
Prove what? That advanced stats are more reliable than regular stats?
That and that most statisticians would agree with you.
Yes, I believe that it is a lot that
I'm not asking you, dude. I'm not asking you what you believe. You cannot be this prideful, man. We've been on the phone for a long time. The least you can do, at the very least, is say, okay, I'm not sure, and I'll get back to you. All right,
I'm not sure, and I'll get back to you.
Okay,
is that enough?
Okay, fair enough. Well, why do you have to be prideful and say, I believe, and go back in a circle then?
Well, because I don't know how you can just dismiss the correlation. That's my issue. But how can you just dismiss that correlation?
If I answer that...
If the objective of the game is to win, and there's a correlation with the stats to winning.
I can answer that, but do you really want to go in a circle for another 2.5 hours?
No, I'm just going to listen to what you have to say, because my phone's going to be dead soon. So.
Okay, sure. But just to save time, the best thing to do when anybody has a disagreement with you, okay? When I say anybody, I mean for a topic like this, NBA. Instead of going, my opinion, your opinion, I'm wrong, you're wrong, just prove it.
Well, I think the correlation is proof enough.
It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you think. Prove it. What is this? I've never heard anyone say that talk about statisticians and correlations and analytics and then not give me facts. Who does that? You can't have it both ways. If you're
the stats are factual.
Okay, prove it.
How?
That's not up to me. That's up to you. It's either a fact. When you say how, it's either a fact or it's not a fact. Why are you asking me? I'm not making this point. You're making this point. It's your thing. Okay.
Well, based on the statistics, Michael Jordan is top 3.
Based on what statistics? Oh no, not this again.
All the
I
advanced
shouldn't even
statistics.
ask. No, I shouldn't have asked that.
All the advanced statistics.
No, advanced statistics are not factually reliable.
They're more reliable than traditional statistics because they have a higher correlation to the objective of the game, which is winning.
That is factually not true. You're making things up.
The objective of the game of basketball is to lose.
No. Is the factual analysis that analytics are more reliable to make Michael Jordan top 3? Is that a fact?
Yes.
Okay, then you disagree with yourself because you said it's not a factual thing, it's subjective.
Yes, everything is subjective, but when talking statistically, it's...
Listen to yourself, man. What is this? You just admitted a while ago.
You think correlations are not enough proof.
You said to me.
You think a correlation is not reliable. It is reliable.
You said to me it's not a factual.
You think a correlation is not reliable.
I heard you, man. You said to me.
Okay.
You said to me it's not a factual thing. It's subjective. There's no. You agreeing to me. There's no such thing as who's number one.
In general, I think it's all subjective. I think it's pointless.
Right, hold on. But then you conclude it's factual that Michael Jordan is top 3.
Based on statistics, yes.
So is it a factual thing or it's subjective?
It's based on the statistics.
You're dodging my question. I'm going to try this.
Based on statistics.
If somebody,
it's subjective based on statistics.
When someone says to you, ranking a player is factual, do you agree with that or not?
I do not agree with that.
Okay, so is it factual that
But
Michael
if they based it on something, I might agree with them. Like the accolades, I might agree with them. Statistics, I might agree
You're
with them.
being a joke now, okay? You can't do that. Don't say I do not agree with that and then change it. Do you agree with that or you don't?
In general, I do not agree with that.
Okay, no. It's either you agree or you don't. Is it a fact that somebody is ranked number 1, number 2, number 3?
No, it's not a fact.
Okay. Is it a fact that Michael Jordan is top 3?
Yes, based on statistics. Based on statistics, he is.
Dude, listen to yourself, man, dude. This is a joke. You said
No,
it's not a
I'm
fact.
using statistics as my measurement.
You said it's
Statistics
not
are just a measurement. Based on those measurements, Michael Jordan is top 3.
You said it's
Not top 3.
then you're contradicting yourself. You said it's not a fact.
In general, like if you're looking at
That's
it,
not,
you know
that's
what?
not what you said. I'm going to ask you again.
I'm just based on my reasoning.
Is it? You said earlier it's not a factual thing. It's subjective. That's what you said. It's not factual. It's subjective.
It's not factual, it's subjective.
Okay. So
It's all
then
subjective.
then period. There's nothing
It's all
else.
pointless.
Okay.
It's all pointless then.
But then you change it to yes, it's factual based on statistics. Michael Jordan is top 3.
Well, based on statistics, he is.
Is it a fact or it's not a fact? What is this? Am I talking to a child?
It's
What is
not a
this?
fact, but based on statistics, he is.
Then it's a fact. So is
Using
there,
statistics, he is.
let me try it. Perhaps you're not understanding what I'm saying. Let me try this again. Is there a factual way to rank players?
No.
Okay. I'm actually surprised. I thought you were going to say yeah, but I'm glad you said no, but then watch this. Is it a fact that Michael Jordan is top 3?
No.
Then why did you keep saying yes over and over?
Because I'm using statistics,
Okay, but is it a fact?
which are reliable.
God. Then why do you say no when I asked you it's a fact?
Because you're just talking in general, not using statistics.
I thought you agreed with me that something is either a fact or not a fact. Didn't you agree with that?
Yes, well, let's say statistics are not a fact.
Okay.
Okay, let's say they're not a fact. They're not factual.
No, I'm not going to let that go. You said to me, didn't you agree something is either a fact or not a fact? Didn't you agree with that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with
So
that.
there's no depends and stats and all that stuff. Is it a fact that there's a such thing as ranking? You said no. Period. There's nothing else. But then when I asked you, is it a fact Jordan's top 3? You say yes.
Statistically, yes. Overall, like in general, no.
Okay, then you're not understanding my question. You're not getting the question. When someone is something a fact or not?
Well, if statistics are not a fact, then Michael Jordan, it's not a fact that Michael Jordan's top 3.
I'm asking you.
But if statistics are factual or reliable,
I'm not asking you all that. Is something a fact or not?
no.
Okay, so you don't even no, then you're not getting my question. And then I owe you apologies. Maybe you're just not getting my question. Then Don't you agree that something is either a fact or it's not a fact? There's no in between. It's either a fact
I
or it's
agree
not.
there's no in between, yes.
Okay,
I
so-
agree there should be context given, but I don't think there's no in between, yes.
Okay, fine. So you agree. So I'm on the same page.
Yes.
So far we're there. So there's no in between. Remember, no in between. Now, is there a such thing as somebody factually being number one?
No, there's no such thing.
No such thing. Right?
Yes.
No
Yes,
such
it's
thing.
all subjective. It's all opinion-based.
No such thing. Nothing. Nothing. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a fact that Michael Jordan is top three?
No, it's not a fact.
Okay, why did you keep saying yes?
Because if you base it on statistics, then it's more likely than not, yes. Because based on statistics, he is. But statistics are not factual, so it's not a fact that he's top three. But if
Okay.
statistics were factual, it would be a
Okay,
fact.
well, now you're changing that part now. So the statistics are not...
No. Statistics are not factual.
Okay, so-
we had a whole 10-minute discussion of whether or not statistics are
so there's no-
facts or
so-
not.
okay, so-
I'm saying right now they're not.
Okay, so there's no...
To make you happy.
Okay, so... Well, don't do it to make me happy. Do what you believe.
No, I'll do it. Just, no,
You
they're
believe it,
not
right?
facts. Statistics are not facts.
Okay, you believe it, right?
They're measurements. They're just measurements. It's all subjective.
I'm actually surprised you said that because statistics are facts, but I don't want to get into that. That's a
They're
big-
just measurements. It's all subjective. Measurements can be incorrect.
No. Statistics are facts. They're used in NASA. They're used among scientists as facts. But if we get into that, now we're having a new topic. So let's just get past that. So you agree there's no such factual thing as a player being number one. There's no such thing as
Yes,
factual.
I established that at the beginning.
Okay, fair enough. But you're not doing it now. It doesn't matter what you did in the beginning, man. You're going in a circle right now.
Well, if I had to choose, and
Right.
then I based that on statistics.
I really don't want to get into this new topic now because now I have to start proving what you did a few minutes ago. Do you really want me to do that? I mean, you kept saying over and over, it's a fact Michael Jordan's top three. It's a fact Michael Jordan's top three. You kept doing that. So I don't know why you're saying you're establishing it different in the beginning. It doesn't matter what you did in the beginning because you were saying
Based
now...
on stats. I'm just basing it on stats,
doesn't
which you
ma-
think are not factual.
It doesn't matter what the reason was. The point is, you said he was factually top three. So what you did in the beginning means nothing because
Based on statistics.
you're doing it now. And anyway, in the beginning, by the way, you did explain he was top three. So I don't know what you were doing different in the beginning. You were doing the same thing then.
Well, I was going to lead into the statistics, but you interrupted. But I let you interrupt.
No. I followed up and I asked you a question, and then you were fine with it, and then you followed up over and over yourself. Put it the right way.
Yeah, so on the questions you were asking.
Don't make me the bad guy, okay? Don't do that. So in the beginning, you said he was top three, and so you didn't do anything different.
And I was going to lead into the statistics.
But it doesn't matter. You thought he was top three. That's the point. And now you were saying it's factually top three, and now all of a sudden you're like, no, it's not a fact. Don't you see how you're changing?
I was basing it on. You didn't let me finish earlier.
It doesn't make it. Dude, you're not getting it. It doesn't matter what the reason was. You thought it was a fact. That's the point. And
I based it on statistics.
It doesn't matter.
It was all based on statistics.
It doesn't matter. You're not getting what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if you based it on stats or marshmallows or buffaloes or anything. It doesn't matter to me because your point was it's a fact that he's top three. But then your other point was it's subjective. It's not a fact. And you kept saying there's no such thing as someone being factually one. And then you went to, well, it's a fact he's top three. Don't you get what you're doing? You're all over the map, like changing stuff.
No, I'm not. I'm being very. It's subjective, but if you were to base it on stats, he would be top three. It's that simple. It's very simple.
Then it's factual. It's not subjective.
Yes.
Okay, then don't say it's subjective and it's not factual.
Okay.
And then when I ask you about...
So if we were to base it on stats, so what's the issue then?
The issue is, what do you believe? When two people disagree...
Based on statistics, he's top three.
So is it a fact that Michael Jordan is top three?
Or do you think statistics are factual?
Yes, I do. But now...
So then he's top three.
But now I'm asking what you think, and you're changing your answers. Don't base your opinion based on what I think. Do you think it's a fact that Michael Jordan is top three?
Yes, based on statistics, which are factual.
So you have changed your answer again. Didn't you just say a little while ago that it was not a fact?
Well, it all depends on what you're looking at.
No.
And what you take into account.
Remember
quality, quantity, accolades, statistics.
Remember we talked about it's either a fact or it's not. There's no in between.
Yes.
Okay, so if you agree it's either a fact or it's not, then the question again, why did you go from it's a fact, it's not a fact, it's a fact? Why are you changing your answers?
It's all subjective based on data.
Okay.
It's all based on data that we subjectively internalize.
Let's try this again.
Process.
Let's try this again. Michael Jordan, is it a fact that he's a top 3 player?
Statistically, yes.
Okay. Prove it.
Okay, I was going to get to that in the beginning.
Okay. No, you have no proof. There's no proof. There should be an easy fact to prove that the Earth's size. No. When you have something that's a fact, there's no I have to get to detail.
Okay, I'm just going to finish with this. All right? Let me finish with what I wanted to get to. Michael Jordan is number 1 all-time in player efficiency rating amongst all players who have ever played the game of basketball. Now, to account for players that played before, steals, blocks, turnovers were accounted for, Michael Jordan led all players in player efficiency rating 7 times. That is 3rd all-time amongst all players in history. Okay? Now, Michael Jordan is number 1 all-time in win shares per 48 minutes. All right? He led all players in this statistic 8 times. That is tied for the most all-time.
All right, can I interject? Is it okay if I interject?
Michael Jordan,
do you just want to
just let me finish. Michael Jordan is number 2 all-time in plus-minus. He led all players in this statistic 5 times, which is tied for 3rd all-time. Michael Jordan is number 2 all-time in value over replacement player. He led all players in this statistic 8 times.
Okay, we get the point. No, we get we get the point. I know you're saying let me finish, but the point is established. You're finding analytics that have Jordan ranked high. That's your point.
And they all correlate with wins and MVP.
Right, that's your point. Now, I can find you tons of stats where other players rank high. Why do you cherry pick your stats?
They're not cherry picked. They all have correlations to winning. Any statistician will tell you that if a stat correlates with winning,
why do you keep telling me what statisticians do and all this? Prove it. You can tell me anything you want, that unicorns exist in Montana. Prove it.
Well, there's research been done. Anyone can just
No, see, that's the problem. And that's the problem right there. I'm not even bothering saying to you anymore that this is not true. I tried doing that with you and you disagreed. So from now what I'm doing is, instead of saying to you this is not true and that's debatable and those people don't think those things, etc., now I'm just keeping it simple for you. Just prove it. Because those things are not true. I know they're not true because I've done my research. They're not true.
Half the MVPs in history led the league in player efficiency rating. No matter, regardless of what you think of MVP, people consider it to be an elite statistic, an elite accolade.
This is a joke.
The best of all the accolades.
This is a joke. You're relying on idiot people.
Who you call all the NBA voters and former players idiots?
No. They're idiot people because MVP is not a reliable thing. It becomes a popularity contest. I'll give you some examples. Would you agree that when Kobe Bryant was in the league, he was the best player many times?
I do not believe that, no. I don't think he ever was, based on statistics.
So this is the problem. I've noticed many of your opinions are really different from other people's mainstream opinions. You don't agree about Jerry West. You don't agree about what they were doing in the 90s.
Oh, I agree Jerry West is great. You
don't agree with Hall of Famers. You don't agree about Kobe Bryant being the best player in the league.
I agree with Hall of Famers.
No. Do I have to remind you when you didn't agree? You know
not all Hall of Famers, but I agree with a number of Hall of Famers.
I didn't say you don't agree with any of them. You know what I'm talking about. You had disagreements. You have these weird random...
But yes, I think someone like Shaq, I think he should have had more than one MVP. Okay. Yeah.
But that's the point. Kobe got one MVP. One.
Yeah, he shouldn't have gotten it, I don't think.
Did you say he shouldn't have gotten any?
No, he shouldn't have. He was never the best player in the league, based statistically, at any time in his career.
Kobe Bryant was never the best player in the league. You would be fired from...
Statistically.
You were actually... I wish you actually, for your own sake, not for me, man. I actually wish for your... Well, I don't wish. You shouldn't have said that because...
Well, no, from 2006 to 2010, in that time, he was. But there's no individual year where he was objectively the best player based on stats.
Hold on. That's the point. You're actually proving my point about analytics, how they're misleading and they can make it bad for a player and team because of things like that, what you just said. Kobe was the best player for many years, but then you say there was no individual...
But for individual seasons, he wasn't. He was never the best in individual seasons.
That's the point. No, and analytics are a formula and a random thing that people make up, and then you get bad analysis like that, where hey, he was the best player for a few years, but no 1 year. If you were in the NBA and they asked you, what do you think? We're going to rely on you. Should we get this guy? Well, he's the best player, but there's not 1 year he's going to be the best, so don't get him. That would be like a joke.
He's top. That doesn't mean he's not top 10 or anything, or he's not all-time great.
I wouldn't say that you said those things. You have a bad habit of changing something that was not even said.
I just don't think he was ever the best in any given year.
Listen, please don't do that. When you're on a point, don't change it to another point. I know what you're saying. I'm trying to show you the problem with analytics. It does things like that, like, hey, he's the best player, but he's not the best player in each year. Or, hey, if you put Jed Bushler and simulate him for 82 games, he's going to average you 12 points a game if you play him 36 minutes. It does misleading things like that. Analytics will tell you, don't put a star player, put this bench guy and give him 42 minutes because per 36 and per 48, he's actually going to have better stats. It gives you computer...
All right, but I'm not using the statistics.
Right, no, but analytics do those things. So you can't cherry pick your analytics. And that's my problem with you also.
Well, I just choose the analytics that correlate with elite play.
But that's as you said earlier.
But that's just me.
But that's exactly the problem. You're giving an opinion as if it's a fact. And that is the problem. You have to be able to prove it. You cannot just say, this is my random criteria, and all statisticians agree with me. Prove it. You can't just
the number do, but yeah, you're right.
See, you're doing it again. You said before in the past that all of them, or most of them, something like that, agree with you.
Yes, most of them would.
Right, but that's just making things up.
In my opinion, most of them would. I don't know if it's not a fact that's true. But
and that's one of my issues with Jordan fans. You're not the only one. I've had tons of podcasts. You can play my other podcasts. They all do this. They don't do the research, and then they come to conclusions. And it's
I've done research.
You have not.
It's based on stats. I just gave you some of it.
You've done research that you go by. These are your things. But most experts...
Based on statistics that correlate with winning.
But most experts don't do these things for a reason. You are not more of an expert than most of the NBA. You can't just keep saying that you are.
There's guys like Ben Taylor that played in college and have a very knowledgeable analyze show better than anyone.
There you go again with your cherry picking. Why do you cherry pick?
It's not cherry picking.
No,
have you seen his video? Have you seen any of his videos? I'll ask any of your audience members. Go to the channel Thinking Basketball and watch a video from Ben Taylor that you like.
Look, listen, it doesn't matter because Ben Taylor does not represent mankind. He's not the president. He doesn't do it. You can't just say because a random. You can't. I don't know why. Like no, but it's. I've seen this pattern from you. Like you throw out what people think of Jerry West. You throw out what Hall of Famers think. You throw out what most experts and owners and other people think, and then you go back.
See, you're doing the same thing. Most, yes, most. No, like what is most? Prove it.
We can. I don't want to go.
You're doing the same thing I'm doing. We're both doing the same thing.
I can get to that. I've gotten to that. I'll get to that. But look at what you're doing. You're doing more than that. Even if you say I'm doing that, you do more. You go to specific examples of Ben Taylor, Houston Rockets, 1996, and NBA 79% points. You give small, random, cherry-picking examples that don't prove anything.
Well, the statistics I use correlate to winning.
Why do you keep repeating yourself, man? It doesn't mean anything.
Because it's important. Why do you think that's not important? I want to know why you think something correlating to winning is not important.
After over 3 hours...
you never explained it. Please explain.
Over 3 hours, you not only don't know why I don't think it's important, you're going to tell the audience I've never explained it after over 3 hours?
Well, I've never had a good explanation for why you think the correlation is not important.
Okay, I'll tell you why again, okay? I gave you so many examples, so many. First, they can be misleading, and I showed you examples of how they can be misleading. Then I gave you also examples of how they can be hurtful to a team, about the Dodgers, about Kobe Bryant, about Jed Bushler, about simulated games. I also showed you...
but there's examples of it working out.
Right, but you have to go by the majority. You can't just say it works out because of analytics. You're assuming it's working because of analytics. Hello? Hey, please subscribe, and if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.